Hello, and welcome along to episode 29 of Beldania. Recently, my husband said to me, how far through the campaign are we? We've got, many years to go. I think we might be approaching the halfway point-ish. I mean, when I say approaching, it's going to take us a couple of months, but yeah, we're approaching the halfway point. And we've been going for 10 months. And that's about right, I think. It's shaping up. I said it'd be a couple of years, and it's looking to be a couple of years. Anyway, somehow after these 10 months, these people are all still playing. Let's find out who they are. Today, I have playing with me, Jamal.
Guys, it's Jamal here, and yeah, I'm surprisingly still playing. And surprisingly, I have not died, and I'm still playing Kiavo Duskmane, a Leonin Order of the Scribes wizard with a talking book for a spellbook called Theseus, played by this douchebag called the DM. And surprisingly, nothing bad has happened yet.
And now you see why it's taken us 10 months to get this far. And with the savage call-out about people whose characters have survived so far, I've got Bruno.
Oh no.
Hello, everyone. Today I am Alessio McPherson, the Battlemaster human fighter, who still doesn't have many friends.
Yeah, he has more than he started with. I have Josh.
I am Josh. I will be playing Sebastian Belmont, the Abjuration Wizard cat. I get so bored of saying human turn into cat. It's just so long-winded.
Are you finally coming out as a full cat? Is this the moment?
Are you?
Yeah, it's just become
Congratulations,
Puss in Boots.
Sebastian.
Yeah, it's just Puss in Boots now, isn't he?
I have Joe. Listen, my boots.
Yeah, I'm Joe, and I am not still playing because I'm a third-generation clone of the person who started playing this. The problem is when you're cloning, you have to keep it's the same one over and over again. You can't change source material,
consistent.
which is what I really prefer to do. Yeah. So, I play Hennick Littlefield, a halfling farmer and bard, and now ship-going person.
And I have Rico.
Hey, I'm Rico, and I'm playing Torrin Goldenbrand, the Dragonborn Paladin, who actually should be dead. Wink, wink.
Yeah, that he should. And so, we have been navigating down along the river. And... Thank you. We have been navigating down along the river, and we had made our way to Drakencorin. In Drakencorin, we fought off some rocks from taking down our dragon friend. And it is in the shadow of the great Drakencorin that we resume. The dragon is taking its rest, and you will have some time to look over the Grand Monument.
What is this thing, you said?
So if you remember, it's like a huge arch, and it's got a slight dip in it, in the top bit, and it's quite literally translates to Seat of the Dragon.
I'm gonna message Torin. I'm just gonna say, I'm not looking at him, I'm looking up at the thing. I'm gonna message him. I'm just gonna say, are you sure you don't want to ascend?
Can I send back to him? Is that possible?
Yeah, you can whisper back.
I'll whisper back. It would be nice.
Then I shall turn to Torin, and I shall cast Fly on him again.
Okay.
Okay.
Torin, as you look up at the Seat of Drakencorin, you'll see a few things. First of all, you'll notice large claw marks in the wall, various different ones. Which makes little sense. Dragons can fly, so they can just land on the top. But these claw marks are huge. You will also see little, sort of at the bottom, little runes at various points. These are not written in the Draconic language, but are written in the Leonin language.
Okay.
And they sort of little tiny messages that appear recent, inverted commas. Recent in comparison to the couple of thousand years old that Drakencorin is not recent. And you'll also notice that though there are lots of rocks nearby which plants sort of grow out and wheedle around, Draken Corin does not have a single or bud up. It also appears to be built of one single rock.
It looks like it has like a hollow out in the middle.
It does, it's an arch.
Okay.
So it's an arch, and then over the top, there's a dip in the top arch. But it is all one rock, and it's being carved down to this size, or so it looks.
Mhm.
You flying up?
I actually kind of wanted to ask Chiavo to translate the Leonin first, maybe.
Yeah, Chiavo, if you go up and approach and have a little look around, you will notice that these messages are inscribed quite a long time ago, and they are sealed in place. Each one of these messages is a different member of the constellation. Constellation, obviously.
So when you say sealed in place, these are like paper notes that have been stuck
No.
and they've been...
They've been written directly onto the rock. Sort of minor engravings, but then they've been preserved in that format so that they don't run.
So they don't erode or anything. Right. Exactly. Okay. So are there any in particular that stand out of any sort of significance, or any that are like more sort of interesting than others?
There is one member of the constellation who seems to have a larger space here, I guess. Every member of the constellation is mentioned, but Aquarius is the one who takes primary place.
Right.
Sort of a fairly large message on the side. It says, Aquarius, shelter us. Aquarius, you are life. And obviously this is because Aquarius is the god of water. Aquarius and Karina rule the oceans together, but unlike his counterpart, Aquarius is less associated with the ocean than with water itself. Often depicted as a single teardrop in the sky, Aquarius is a god of both like sorrow and resilience, strength in the hardest times and life in the good times.
So, from what I know about the culture in the area, would it be fair to discern that that's because it's a desert and there's this shortage of water in so many places that they put so much devotion towards the pantheon god dedicated to water?
Yep, 100%. You also know that the river that flows from the Urak state has not always been present. It is a more recent feature of the Earth. A large earthquake that happened only a couple of hundred years ago caused a fissure that the Urak state and the Halian tribes worked together to dredge out the entire river.
Okay.
Before that,
so if I had an estimate,
this was written about 250, 300 years ago, so prior to the creation of the river.
So in what would be comparably more desperate times where water was even harder to come by.
Well, desert times, really, where water was treasured, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Okay. Yeah, as a character, I'd definitely be looking to take some notes on some of these things, and
Torin will now fly up after listening to Chiavo's long, drawn-out lecture about constellations and water.
Yeah.
And shit.
And it's high enough that by the time you're at the top, you can't really hear anyone down below. But from this location, sitting up here, go ahead and give me a perception check. Have you got advantage?
22.
Yeah, as you sort of sit up here, and at first it's just a bit of a thrill being this high. You know, so if you remember, it's approximately 140 feet, which is quite tall in these times, and especially in a flat desert, or mostly flat desert. There are a few, you know, rises and whatever, but it's fairly flat. But as you sit here, you can see all the way to Ulsmire to the south. You can see the edges of the big city. And as you look over to the west, you see where the desert gives way to grasslands. Far to the west. About 50 miles away, but you can just about see where it begins. But as you look to the east, over this flat land, you're not sure if it's just because you can see the sun where it's risen. It makes things look a little funny. It looks like mountains? Mounds?
Like
Huge.
dunes? Or like mountains? Like
Well, if they're dunes, they're bigger than any dunes you've ever heard of. They're huge in the east. Directly east over here. They look a little too square to be natural.
how far east are we talking? Like close to the
Sorry, I did just ping.
border, or,
I'll,
like-
I'll ping somewhere
okay,
over here.
okay, yeah. Got you.
Sorry. Certainly.
That's
Berries.
troubling.
Yeah, it's not great.
Are they moving? Is the question that I would ask.
You watch for a minute or two, and then you sort of realize that even if they were at this distance, unless they started sort of leaping up into the sky,
It'd
you
be hard
really
to
wouldn't
like
be able to.
discern minimal measurements. Yeah. So I'll fly back down.
Renkus turns to you.
and,
I'm Journey, brother.
exhilarating, if anything else. Have there always been mountains in the east of
Mountains?
Halion?
No, it's
Yes,
desert.
mountains. Well, I thought they looked strange, but
Don't have mountains
I'm
in
su-
Alien. Never have.
I'm sure I saw 2 mountains.
Sometimes the desert can do funny things to you. I've heard you can see water where there's not water. And it's hot. Maybe. What?
Is that
you,
so?
you
I've-
don't think so?
Yeah.
Heard of mirages.
Yeah, this seemed quite real. I was quite high up. I had a vantage point that was something of an eagle eye point.
Troubling. Perhaps related to these tales we've heard.
Well, that is what I fear.
You just hear this kind of... Then the dragon sort of rolls over lazily and just utters at you. Yeah. When the towns are consumed, left big hills. You talk further away. So it rolls back the other way. Obviously, that's where he's flown from. That is indeed where his kin are buried.
I wish I could ask him more questions, but I don't want to piss off the golden dragon.
You really don't.
Well, where do we head to next, companions?
Well, if that trouble, and even if we care to head over to try to help out his buried companions, if it's closer to the coast, I suppose we'll head on down the river.
Makes sense to me. We certainly can't uplift the ship and carry it across Halion.
I've never heard of anything like that.
Well, I never heard anything of mountains moving and crushing cities, but you never know in this world.
Well, maybe they'll know more down in Ulsmire. You know, the dragons can't be the only folk who have had any effect of this out in the desert. Out in the desert, so maybe we'll learn something more there and just keep on our way.
Are we in agreement?
Silence. Is
I mean, you haven't turned
dangerous.
into a dragon, so.
Your ascension was disappointingly non-existent. However, as you guys sort of head back down to the wall, as you're walking across the desert, Hannock, you notice something sort of gleaming in the desert sand.
A big something or small something?
3 inches across.
Okay.
It looks like a perfect disc with a gap in the middle. And as you reach down to it, is made of black stone.
Interesting.
It looks fairly natural. The hole is at the center is not, it's not perfectly spherical, I guess. I don't know, whatever the right phrase is. It looks natural.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'll pick it up. Been paying more attention to those sorts of things lately, so want to inspect it a bit. I don't know if I can tell if there's anything weird with it, but
Nothing weird about it. It's kind of unusual, funky, and it's warm. It's very warm.
right.
Painting heat a little better than your average
Right.
rock in the desert. But other than that, the only thing unusual about it is any more of it.
Does anybody know what this might be? Cavo, if you have any more knowledge of, well, just everything because you're you, but also the territory here.
If Chiavo inspects it, he will find that he knows nothing more about it than it seems to be a rock. Does seem to contain any clever properties. Interesting. Black and shiny.
Well, I'm not much for just taking things as mine, but this don't really seem like it belongs here. So I don't know. It's interesting enough. Might hang on to it.
With that, go ahead.
Is there anything that I can pick up that looks like some sort of geological artifact, some sort of excavation thing that I could use to sell later on at a bigger city?
There are some sandstone rocks here, but they're not
Are they
particularly
of any
interesting
value?
or exciting. No. You might, however, get something as you get down to the riverbanks. You will see some bones of animals that have sort of died down by the water. They're not amazing animals or exciting, they're camels, they're elephants, creatures that have died down by the water, but they can be quite impressive. You do see one particularly large elephant tusk. They're not going to be that rare in Ulsmire, but they're kind of cool.
Well, maybe they'll be a little bit more rare up in Voralia.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'll keep it until then. I'm gonna add it. Thank you.
As you guys get back to the boat, so it's sort of bobbing peacefully and waiting for you. Didn't like hell. It's just I just had one little white square.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So you get down to the boat. It's gonna be about 5 days to get down to Ulsmire. Is there anything major that anyone is doing in that 5 days?
If in those 5 days, if every day I could try and put summon constructs in the marble, then by the 7th day
We do
I will
have some
complete it.
ongoing things that will complete the day before you arrive in Ulsmire. Those are the Sending Stone, and the Summon Construct Stone. Iavo, you were fidgeting, weren't you, with a stone? But I don't think you were doing much more than that, were you? You weren't aiming to do anything specific yet, were you?
What was the effect of the stone again? It was purple one, yeah.
I believe yours was purple, which is you can make a wand with it, or it can.
A wand. No, that's all I need to know then.
Sort of.
In that
It's
case,
it's casting item, so you can put a spell in it.
it recharges once a
and
day,
recharge.
right?
It's pinned actually in the Discord channel. Right. So you can get maybe 2 spells in, and if you do really well, but usually it's just not 2 separate spells, 2 charges effectively, but
Yeah.
basically you can create a stone that casts a spell once or twice per day. That's exactly what you guys have been doing with the Sending Stone.
Yeah. And it
Um,
doesn't concentrate on its own spell if it's a concentration spell, right?
no, it does not. Well, sort of. There are some spells that if it casts it, they will just last their duration without concentration being required. The example of this is Fairy Fire that's in the stone that one of you has.
I'll have to investigate, sort of tinker around of seeing what the possibilities for what can be concentrated on by that specific thing.
Yeah, so you get
See
the
what those,
impression that effects that can be sort of saved by the enemy and require concentration. It maintains the saving element, but not the concentration element. Things that affect allies, it won't be able to make. It's not going to cast invisibility or haste.
Yeah,
but
certainly not. No.
But entangle, for example, it might be capable of casting without maintaining.
Then that gives me some ideas of some things I might want to do with it, but
Yep.
I'll wait until we know what we want from a wand.
Okay, so as we idle on down the water, go ahead and give me an alchemy check. Pump out some proportions.
I'd also like to cast Mage Armor every day.
Yeah.
And of course, same for me.
Yeah, actually, both of you just give me 2 Arcana checks for the Mage Armor. But before that, Gavin, give me an alchemy check.
Alchemy check is ouch. It's a nat 1.
Rough. Yeah, you thought you'd come along something new. It turns out that actually it doesn't seem to blend well, or maybe you just screwed up. And you will need to expend a dragon's tongue and a hyacinth nectar. Rid of those two from your inventory.
Okay.
Okay, Arcana checks. Josh.
A dirty 20 and a nat 20 for a 28.
Nice. Yeah, go ahead and roll me a d4.
3.
3. Nice. Yes, that's 36 hours you've got up to. It now lasts a day and a half. Calvo, your
15 and a 23.
15 and a 23. Yeah, you're able to get your mage armor after 24 hours. Now each time you cast it, it lasts a day.
Nice.
Um,
Getting there.
What's Alessio keeping himself occupied with?
Would I be able to use these days to maybe learn a new Battle Master maneuver, since I usually spend a lot of time practicing?
Let's see. I think
I'm
maybe
particularly...
you might be able to spend some time sparring with Torin and Zandrak.
Gladly.
And possibly sort of gain some insight into their skills to try and gain some of your own. Go ahead and give me an intelligence check.
Oh, that's not really good.
Oh, wow.
Would I be able to roll that with advantage, since I've only been practicing for the last few months?
Nope. Go ahead and give me an intelligence check. See what you get.
It's pretty sad for Alessio, because he has terrible intelligence. 7.
7. Yeah, so you are able to let him maneuver. The difference is that unfortunately, that's what we like to see.
Should I roll?
Yeah, but I just need to have something first.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
I'll take a d20, by the way, sorry.
I'll just roll a d20 then.
No, I just realized what you're rolling, what you're counting. I am already
60.
there. I'm assuming you already have precision attack, yes?
Let me quickly check.
I believe you do.
I do indeed.
Yep. So I will let you choose between parry and pushing attack. Pushing attack is where you've learned from Torin how to bring your size and strength to bear. Battle. Really sort of lean into your attacks. Parry is from Zandrak, and he's sort of showed you how to deftly riposte.
I kind of want to go with parry because we've only been fighting big monsters.
Yeah, it can go with it.
But I am gonna go with pushing
Okay.
instead, in hopes that we will hopefully be fighting some smaller creatures.
Mhm.
And that also fits within Alessio's repertoire of knowledge. Cool, thank you.
I'm having a... one. It is...
James, you're awake. It's not a nightmare. That's just how bad the world is.
Yeah, I just cannot ever find the right track. I need to redo the whole of Beldania.
Oh, that's a big job.
Well, yeah, they've stopped looping, and now they've taken away the stop button, stop what's playing. So you need to know inside which playlist different tracks are, and it's just like Roll20 just made everything so much effort for music. Anyway, that's besides the point. So as Alessio is sparring, what has he got up to on a more social level? Practice a little bit.
I think he's still very much focused on making money. That's his main goal. He wants to get as rich as possible, so he'd be helping around the boat.
Yep.
And hopefully in exchange for some coin.
Yeah, nobody on the ship's going to pay you sort of for doing the work they're all doing, but you get the impression that maybe they might include you in the profits of the boat itself at some
really
point,
good.
as and when.
Can I
Yeah.
ask around how much it would cost to cast a 9th level spell?
Cast a 9th level spell.
Would anyone know?
So, this 9th level spell you speak of is not really something that anybody understands the terminology of.
Oh, yeah, oh, well,
clearly.
okay. Who would be the most magical proficient person on the boat?
Bravo.
I'll go.
Well,
to
not quite,
that's okay.
actually. Theseus is more specific, is why I've sent you to Kiara.
Yes.
In terms of intrinsic understanding of magic, you'd be far better going for Sebastian, but in terms of actually getting an answer that's useful, go to Kiara.
Chiavo,
Yes.
I have a request for you.
The request, you say?
How much would it cost to cast a very powerful spell?
So,
That
we're in a little bit of a weird moment here, so if you don't mind, Kev, I'm going to sort of guide you here.
Sure. Yeah.
First of all, the most powerful magic you've encountered in the entirety of this world is yours and Sebastian's. You have met no mages more powerful. You have seen dusty books and old rumors of stronger magics. You know that in
The masked
certain
mage as well, right?
in certain schools, the masked.
I have a note on him.
You don't know much about him?
No, because I've only heard it in passing conversations.
Yeah,
Between these guys.
Yeah. So there's in certain schools, very specifically, certain wizards around the world might be able to produce stronger magic than Sebastian or Chiavo. For example, Furlock might have been capable of more specifically strong illusion spells. Or the elves might be better at the sort of nature and preserving spells. You
And
might be
in
able to
terms
find
of
very
costs
strong
as
clerics.
well.
What of resurrection spells?
You have heard rumors of resurrection being possible, but you've never heard of it actually happening.
I would have also heard that if anyone would know how to do it, it would be people specifically at the temples in the major cities that would know, right?
They would know of the stories, but being able to resurrect somebody is something attributed to gods, not mortals.
Yeah, but they would have at least heard stories, right?
So where do we go to meet the gods?
That's a good question. That depends on which gods you want to meet. The swiftest way is a dagger through your own throat. But if you're not planning on that one, they say that some of the most religious people in the whole of Beldania are the Leonin. Ulsmire is their capital. It's worth asking there.
Where was Ulsmire in comparison to where we are?
It's the end
It's
of
where we're
this 5
headed.
days.
Right, where we're going, yeah.
Yeah.
It is the big town that you're headed
We're
towards.
on the way.
Perfect. I'm very keen to go there, to the temples.
So while you ponder the power of magic. Torin, what are you up to over these 5 days?
I think that other than, you know, besides being hounded to practice by Alessio and just generally helping out around the ship, I think that he was spending a lot of time maybe working on his craft, taking a note from Alessio, maybe thinking of things to sell in Ulsmire, maybe just like using up all this leather that he has in his bag, making some like simple things like bracers or.
And you're also, of course, working on the sail, right?
Yes,
with,
exactly. Jessica.
Tabaxi, yes, Jessica.
Jessica.
Go ahead and give me a sleight of hand check and with advantage, and then a leatherworking.
Ooh. 12 on the sleight of hand.
Okay. So yeah, the
22
sail
on the leatherwork.
isn't quite coming out how Jessica was hoping. You're much more a leatherworker than you are a tailor. And you know, both you and her, you know, clawed hands and clawed paws, not the best of neat sewing techniques. She sort of looks at this slightly askew image and is just, well, maybe next time, eh? Thanks, though. It's been really pleasant spending time.
Oh, likewise, Jessica. You know, I've never met a Vaxi before.
No? Oh. I'm told I'm very different to my people. They're all very much respect for your elders and the hierarchy of people, and you're born into a certain caste and you never break out of it. In all honesty, I make quite a terrible tabaxi. Where's my delivery of breakfast and coffee? Shit! I've got to stop playing D&D with my husband so he can start delivering me coffee and cake. Yeah. God, sorry, I'm so fucking jealous. Ready? Come on! Come over here!
You're sitting right there, eyes widened.
It's like, yeah, fucking service. Yeah, right. I'm so distracted right now. I'm just my brain is going. Can I fit a trip to Starbucks in the break? Anyway, back to the focus.
Jessica.
Yeah, Jessica will tell you that actually she makes a terrible tabaxi. You know, she's got very little respect for her elders or anyone else for that matter. She doesn't preach the religions of Sun Ra at all. Is it Sun Ra? I think it's Ra. I meant to be Sun in that. Ra. Oh, which idiot didn't put a contents page on the top of this document? Scroll. It's been a long time. It is Ramunha. Sorry. Yeah, Ramunha, creator of the Tabaxi, god of the sun. This will tell you that she has no use for god of the sun in the middle of the desert anyway. And generally, she doesn't really follow any Tabaxi ways. In fact, after a while, you'll get to realize that if she worships anybody, it's Cyril Ali. And she's kind of fairly halfling in most of her views. Yeah, she's welcoming to everybody. She sort of doesn't judge anybody by their cover. But also she's got very much a sense of like self-respect and self-worth, and doesn't really feel she owes anything to anyone except for Phoebe. But she's a pretty cool ass, really, when all is said and done. She will show you a very rare set of tiger opal earrings, which are from the Tabaxi land. She'll tell you that's about as much of her homeland as she thinks about or carries with her. Born on a boat, she'll die on a boat, is her hope. And well, Torin's chatting away with Jessica and weaving at the... Oh, sorry, the leatherworking chat.
Yeah, 23.
23. Yeah, you are able to make... I wonder. Give me a d6, please.
A 1.
Yeah, you make a pair of braces that don't fit you. But as you look at them, they're tapered. Why are they tapered? The more you look at them, the more you try and ascertain what they might be useful for. These are braces of archery.
Oh.
That's what you can sell. Yeah, they're not really, in trying to make something defensive, what you've actually done is sort of recreate things you've seen on your father, that he used to use in his hunting days. which actually don't defend you in the slightest, but they do help, leaning the bow and focusing on points, distance, and steadying your arms. They work a little bit like splints. But, cool. And with that,
Cool.
Before we get to the 5th day and the sending stones are complete, what has Henrik been doing in the meantime?
Well, a couple of things perhaps. One is just playing with the weird rock that he found and trying to determine if it was just hot because it was in the does the heat retain? Like I've got because I've got the wand of winter. I feel like I'm like Ray of Frosting the little rock, going like, are you going to cool down now?
Yeah.
Did you warm back up on your own?
Interestingly, when you Ray of Frost it holds the cold very, very well as well. It's just a really conductive material, well insulated.
Interesting. I mean, I don't know if this is at all the intent, but I think I would ask Kiava whether this is like the rock we should use to put the sending stuff into.
Ooh.
Like, I wouldn't know, but I would say, like, I don't know, this rock stuck out to me, and seems to be I don't know, it's not that we're trying to hold any temperature, but we are trying to hold something in this stone.
You will need to use the purple crystal.
Okay.
Yeah, the purple crystal is the only sort of thing capable of holding said spell in this world. No, I mean, Kiavo can poke and prod at it for a while, but really it seems to have absolutely no magical worth whatsoever. It's nice to look at.
Well,
So
then
where
I may
Sorry,
Oh,
go
so
on,
Where
Kiavo.
should we find this thing again?
It's in the desert by the dragon monument.
No, it seems inert, unfortunately.
It's also, just interestingly, nothing that Kiavo has seen in the deserts of Halion.
Well then,
Hang
yeah.
Not
Alright.
from. If this isn't from around here, where the hell was this from? No idea whatsoever. Or do
Well,
we have a
I
clue?
don't know. I mean, it's obviously a very different color from some of the stuff we were seeing back there around the desert. I don't know too much. I mean, I know the land a bit, but I don't really know where some of the different things about it come from. But
Curious.
elsewhere, I would imagine.
I realise I've thrown you a slight bit of a curveball here. Without having any further thoughts of what to do with it, you're more than welcome to do nothing with it. But just a reminder that the guy you got very chatty with was an Earth Genasi.
That's true.
So that was the intent. If you are looking for more information, I will tell you that that's where you'll find it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I don't have all these people sitting around me, so.
No,
It's
exactly.
hard to remember
They're not
them all.
sat right there.
Yeah.
I've been playing the session with this on the screen for the last 5 weeks. So basically, if you go over to him, he will tell you that the interesting thing about that rock, and there is only one interesting thing about that rock, is it's not native to Halion at all. It's native to his homeland, which is all the way to the north.
Right.
Far north of Erlana. Sorry, not far north of Erlana, but the homeland, basically. And these rocks always come with a little hole through the center of them. It seems that they're weaker at the center than they are at their edges. And he'll tell you that the Genasi have ostentatiously use this to talk about community. How the community as a whole is stronger than the individual at the center. Which he agrees with the sentiment, but he thinks that painting this kind of importance on a rock, even for an Earth Genasi, is a bit ridiculous. But he does seem very confused and concerned as to how the hell it ended up in the middle of a desert in Halion.
Well, I don't know, and I don't have really much sense of how I might figure it out, but well, if there's one thing I know, it's I don't mind. I suppose I don't mind overriding the importance of the individual in certain circumstances, and so I think this is a perfectly fine rock for me to test out some of my new tools with, and just try to expand and make nice the center hole. And
Comes with its own hole as well, which is useful, right?
yeah.
And he sort of smiles, and there's a cavern just over the border from Erlana, actually, in Gazellen. Tales will contain thousands of these rocks. Part of some, I don't know, mystic journey that people talk of. It's some old story. I don't know.
Yeah, I think maybe we've been, sort of, one of the many paths we're on might be that one.
Well,
We'll have to check
and
locations.
he will mark it on a map if you wish, and you will find that it is number 16 and the way of the path. Yeah, very old story about these rocks. Apart from playing with said rock, and obviously the sending stones. Is there anything else that Henning has been doing over the last days?
Well, just trying to pay attention to the rest of the crew and figure out if there's anybody particularly unhappy, since I was tasked with trying to make sure they're all right.
Yeah, there is one gentleman who seems distant from everybody else. This is Nassan. If you remember, I think we saw Nassan buying scrolls. Shapewater scrolls. Still. He's a Beldania.
Right.
Yeah, he walks around looking pensive, moody, and sad, really.
I will try to find an appropriate time to approach him. He is the carpenter, correct?
He is indeed, yeah.
I think I would kind of like almost semi-deliberately like loosen like the side of my cart, right? And then ask him like, hey, Nassan, is it? I was wondering if you might be able to help me just tighten up the side of my cart here a bit.
Yeah, sure. I can do that. I'm free at the moment, actually.
I appreciate it. A lot of kind of things you have to do yourself, but I know I'm not a specialist in everything. There was a fella back in town who tended to do the carts and that sort of stuff for us, and haven't been in town in quite a while.
No, I imagine not. The only one. Let me get my tools. I'll meet you by the cart. And he heads off and he grabs a sort of wooden box, and you'll notice that the wooden box is very beautifully carved. And it's what's special about it is that he sort of carved along the bowl of the wood, sort of making it look like the wood shaped itself. This box.
Right.
And as he brings it over here, let's have a look at it. And he sort of leans over and he starts to tend to the cart. And after a little while, he sort of looks over and kept it in good shape.
Well, I try. It's been through quite a lot, but Black Radish is pretty delicate choosing his path and so on. Of course, now it's not doing any work at all here on the ship.
Black Radish is the donkey, right?
Indeed. Seeming might troubled, might I ask?
I'm a long way from home. Distance and time. I can't help but feel as this world is falling apart, but home's where we should be. Right?
Well, I think possibly. I'd like to get back myself. But there are certain times where you have to do things to make sure it's there to go back to.
Can't help but feel with my homeland being so far from all these troubles. Maybe it'll just be like it always was. Nothing happens there. The people are focused on progress. They progress with magic and unusual arts and architecture, but the home itself, what changes?
What brought you far away from it in the first place?
Boredom at first. I was approaching my 4th century and thought it was time to do some traveling. I came on a boat to the south and docked in at Kalan. I didn't get on too well with the captain. So I jumped ship, and a little later joined up with Phoebe here. That was about 30 years ago. She'd not long freed her crew, and she was looking for somebody to help work on the ship to, bring it back to the lines it once had. Became a slaver. I helped out with some building in the dock and asked if I could board. He was a good lass, but nigh 80 years since I've been home. We don't go up to the Northlands in a boat like this.
Well, is it the, your home itself, or is it the stability of that place that you think you miss the most?
Perhaps a bit of both. I had a brother up in Garrick Northlands. It'd be nice to see him again. And old friends, and it's a peaceful place. I miss the libraries. They're wonderful. So much knowledge. But there is something to be said for the expected. Where's the expected? Miss that. Always the unexpected on this boat.
Yeah, well, that seems to have been our lot in general over the past 2 weeks. But, you know, the very thing about a place like that sounds like, well, time is not entirely your enemy. That's if it's so stable, it'll still be there when you do make your way back.
Into fear recently for my life. Adele can live a long, long time.
Evidently.
I never really thought that my time might be limited. I've seen the hastiness of humans try and achieve so much in a lifespan so short. Sometimes I use it as a criticism for myself for achieving so little in a lifetime, so smiles. But they live at a pace that I couldn't manage. Oh, recently on this boat, I'm beginning to wonder whether doing something worthy and dying relatively young. Maybe that's something my people could learn from. But I fear. I want to die.
Well, I haven't heard anything in there that doesn't say doing something worthy and still living long wouldn't be the best of both.
Well, indeed. We learn about balance in the ice. Perhaps this is one of those instances. Is that a cow? That's
just no.
Just falling from the sky in this soundtrack. But he sort of he smiles, and it might not be the case, but in my experience, there's always a compromise, right? You do more, you achieve less.
Well, I don't know about that necessarily. Maybe that you end up making more of the time just by going at it a bit. I don't know. As far as talking to some people you've left behind, well, we might be working on something that could help with that.
Smiles. And
Give us a little.
I can contact my brother. I speak to him regularly. I just haven't seen him in a
Oh.
long, long time.
I see. Well, I don't know too much about that.
I do. Need to take a boat. Sometime. Well,
Maybe you ought to build your own.
something I've thought about a lot. Have a quite good round. I think I'll see out Phoebe's days, callous as that might sound. I'd like. With her after Xandrak goes. If the stories are to be told. My people put great stock in visions of the future. It seems a little specific.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about all that. I think perhaps it has motivated him in some good ways of late, but well, we'll see. Sounds like you got the time, even if you're just now starting to worry you don't.
Maybe that's true. And yeah, we'll skip forward a couple of days. Apart from your magical endeavors, Sebastian, is there anything else you've been doing? Else you'd like to?
Napping.
Proper cat work. Yeah, well, you wake up from a nap on the sort of 4th, 5th day. And as you toss your little stone into the, a little crystal up into the air, very Pokemon style, it sort of grows out and becomes a summoned construct. Exciting. Looks like it won't last all that long each day. But hey.
What does the construct look like?
Gosh. It's made of crystal, I know that much.
No.
What does it look like? Oh, I see, you're putting it on the map.
Oh.
Oh, that little
Like a
dude,
little-
but made of crystal.
Like a little crystal doggy. Okay, awesome.
That was such a Sebastian way of answering. It is like Torin had turned around and asked you what it looked like, and you just went. Pointed. Yeah, well, it looks like that. Henrik and Chiavo on the 7th day, you finally have a breakthrough. And mankind is created. No. Yeah, that probably happens before the 7th day, because dude rests on the 7th day, doesn't he? Anyway, you are able to get this sending stone working. You know now, Chiavo, that you could replicate the feat fairly quickly.
Well, in a lot less than 7 days now.
Yeah, a few hours. Oh, excuse me.
Oh, fantastic!
But I believe Henrik had a purpose
Progress,
for the first one.
breakthrough.
That's fine work, Yavo.
Couldn't have done it without you, to be honest. So, as much credit goes to you.
Well, I don't know about that, but maybe we can, I don't know, do as intended and see if the old chef there wants to talk to his seasick wife. Might improve our dinners.
Sounds like a good plan. I'll let you do the honors. I'll hand sending stone over immediately.
Okay. Bear with me a second. I need to pull up the very specifics of sending.
Well, and normally sending stones, she's got to have it too, but...
Yeah, but she doesn't. You send a short message of 25 words or less to a creature with which... The message in this mode recognizes you and can answer in a like manner immediately. Twice a day. Okay, cool. Sorry, just needed to have that present.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we'll, I think we'll just wait until we are gathered for a meal at some point if we can, or unless the timing of that doesn't work out.
No, that's fine. You can gather for the afternoon meal. It's a little later than lunch, but it's a meal of some sort. Goran comes out looking quite proud. For one of the ship members has caught this big river fish. He's cooked it whole and he's placing it on the table. That's a good one, that one. Aye, that it is.
How you thinking of preparing that one there, Goran?
Salt crust, I think, and fill it out and it whole, I think.
Maybe you should ought to get some pointers from the wife. We know some of her recipes have been very good.
She does like fish. She looks at you a little confused.
Pull out the rock. Sort of hand it over, sort of hold it out for him, and why don't you ask her what she thinks? This here has a bit of magic imbued into it. If we've done our job, you ought to be able to talk to her a couple times a day. Short message. Just
I can
think of her carefully.
talk to her.
Focus on the stone. say a bit of a message, and she ought to be able to speak right back.
Sort of hesitates and goes quiet and looks down. You see a tear sort of roll down his cheek.
Now, we haven't tested it, but we're pretty confident.
And you see his lips begin to sort of move quietly. Sarah? You see a sort of a smile come to his face, and he says, if I'd blithering well turned up by now, she would show me herself. Asks how this is possible. This walks every day.
We think twice a day, so make them count. Maybe don't waste it all on recipes.
And he tells her that it won't work again today, but he'll contact her tomorrow. And then you just see like tears in his eyes, and he it's quite unusual for water genasi to let themselves cry, because normally they would control the tears before they've even fallen out. But with him, you see them. He lets them flow way more than any natural tears would. He sort of smiles, and then he picks you up, Hennick, and spins you round on the spot. And he's sort of, you're the best! You're the greatest! The greatest! I'll tell you how I'll prepare this fish. For you, like royalty, with caviar. I have some in the ship's chest. I've been saving it.
Well, now, don't waste it on me. I didn't think I was going to get this damp unless I fell overboard.
Kindness beyond anything you can imagine. And Braylon, the Kalishtar, sort of leans down. It was well done. Very well done. Thank you.
Not a trouble. Mostly Kiavo's work.
And yet, probably wasn't Kiavo's decision to discover that Goran was the one who struggles most with long journeys at sea. His wife and him, they love each other greatly.
Well, and I'm just happy you can talk to her.
She doesn't get seasick, you know.
Oh, no?
Don't tell him. He smiles. She told me a couple of years back when we were visiting. She thinks that they spend all their time together. They'll get bored of each other.
Well,
She loves that they're always we just see each other. Bruno, for fuck's sake. That's such a stupid reference. Oh dear.
well, maybe a 100 words exchanged a day or so ought to be the right limit for him.
Make a big difference, that will. Thanks. A grumpy chef is it's not pleasant for any of us, to be honest.
I wouldn't think so.
We're putting into Ulsmire tomorrow.
Yeah, what's I know I spent quite a bit of my youth not so far down the coast in Boulder Down, but never really made it over this way. What sort of town is it?
A strange place. Very religious. Very quiet. They do visit each other, and there are some market stalls, but only briefly at dusk and dawn. During the day, they mostly keep to themselves. The Leonin of Halion are a nomadic folk. So whilst this is ostensibly their capital, in reality, not all that many Leonin stay there for most of the year, though most Leonin in Halion have a home in Ulsmire. They will visit it at certain times. It means that it's a lot of empty buildings. Strange town, a quiet town. But something quite beautiful about it. Most people visit for the temples. They're a monument to each of their gods. Quite something. And the port's great. There's some trading up the front. It's not Leonin for the most part. There are satyrs and shifters and various others, and halflings indeed, that trade within the ports, and those are a little removed from the rest of Ulsmire, but it's an unusual place. Difficult to describe, I'm finding. You'll see.
Yeah, I guess we'll see it for ourselves soon enough.
But, far from the bustle one would expect.
Interesting.
And with that and the joy of Goran, we are going to pull into Ulsmire, but actually we're going to take just a couple of minutes first. I've and restock the hot drinks. Back shortly. We are back.
Yeah.
We're live. We are here, and we are traveling to Ulsmire. And in fact, Ulsmire is where we are getting to. So. Oh no, don't tell me I haven't put the picture in. Let's put the picture in. Oh, that sounded really nice. It was like somebody was making a coffee live on screen.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I just turned off my thing. My bad. Apologies.
Yeah. Okay, while I fiddle. Ulsmire, as you approach it, is unusual in a couple of ways. The first big sort of unusual thing about it, is that all of the town is, well, it's a city, but it's a very big city, in fact. But you don't see any people, and it's all the same color. All the desert color, it's all sandstone. And then, just reaching out, is one singular building at the very center, with a huge white marble spire with a dome.
Is that the temple?
I think Yava would know. It is not the temple, for there are 38, I think, temples in Ulsmire, but it is the Temple of Andromeda.
I'll place
It's
my hand
a
on
temple, yeah.
Kiavo's shoulder and I'll say, "Lead the way, Kiavo. I have a to-do list and it's 38 items long."
We'll be here a while.
To the temples!
Perhaps we could dock the boat first.
No, to the temples! And I prepare to jump off the boat.
Don't do that. Yeah, as the boat pulls in, the river boat pulls in. It's slow going as it navigates its way into the main area. I've just realized I do not. Oh, I do. Yeah. This is what I'm looking for. As you sort of navigate into the main river port, I said something.
No, side nonsense. Don't worry about it.
Okay, great. That's fine. I love a bit of side nonsense.
We were just wondering how long the list would be in centimeters. Joe mentioned it.
It's 38 items. Do things sound longer if you measure them in items?
That'd be about 172 centimeters.
Oh, nice.
Well, regardless, we have a picture of somewhat alien. This is a desert, I will give you that. But it is at least something to stare at. Right, there we go. I keep making untitled pages by mistake. They're all over the Beldania screen. Like, when I go to the page management, there's just hundreds of empty pages that I've clicked by mistake.
Oh, no.
Well, it's so easy to accidentally press the plus, and
Yes.
then it just makes another Beldania screen.
Yeah, and then it's a whole thing to delete.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
it's just all over the place. Untitled blank
I feel your
sheets.
pain.
Anyway, putting back here, yeah. So this is the color of the rock. It's about getting out of this. But it's made of these squat sandstone buildings. You put it to the main dock, it's wooden, and you'll notice a little sort of squat sandstone building sitting to the side, and much like that little village of shifters, these buildings are set into the ground slightly, and each building has a sort of trench built around it, and then some stairs leading down to it. Some of the less glorified buildings have slopes leading down from instead. You will, however, notice that a little way away from you, perhaps 38 seconds, or no, about 400 feet away from you, is a building that's not set into the sand and instead is risen up and it stands above the rest of the buildings. It is in this way that it's very easy to identify each of the constellation temples. The difference being that they are not set down into the ground, which means they rise above the population. Right? And many of those are built for much larger gatherings and such. As you pull into the river port, you are greeted by a Leonin, who moves forward from the squat building and sort of he greets you in Leonin, which, am I correct in thinking only Kiavo speaks? Makes sense, right?
Yeah, I don't talk it. I mean, I don't speak it.
I sure don't unless I use a spell.
So he says, warm sands and safe shores, friends. To which Phoebe replies, we welcome your hospitality.
Nods with the head.
And as she says this in Leonin, you will see that she lifts out a sort of large medallion from under her shirt. And this medallion is golden in color, though it appears to be painted. And it has the image of stars painted in silver upon it. And whatever this means, it clearly allows her to dock. As the gentleman sort of gestures, and he will take the rope that is tossed to him on the side and tie you to the dock. And he will welcome the gangplank from the boat, allowing you to disembark. Oh, that's not the word I was looking for, but it certainly suits the occasion. You may disembark.
James.
Yes.
These stars, they're a representation of the faith that the Leonin follow, right?
They
The
are.
constellation?
Yes, the constellation, yeah.
Okay. Would I recognize which one specifically? Because I know Alessio worships Lacerta.
So the representation on the amulet, you mean?
Yes.
No, in fact, you would recognize, perhaps, would you? I don't know. Give me a survival check.
And I think as I do this, I would also like to ask Kiavo to maybe either translate that I'm looking for this Temple of Resurrection or like a temple that handles that. Just maybe if they can give us some general guidelines where to go. I got a 13.
Yeah, so with your 13 survival check, there is a single star which belongs to Andromeda. But then there's a scattering of stars which don't seem to have any pattern at all. They don't have any constellation. Perhaps instead it's a symbol.
It's like a general, like, the
Well,
whole pantheon.
No, Kiavo will sort of fill you in if you look curious. It is Andromeda and the 7 stars, and the 7 stars represent the 7 pride leaders of the strongest prides in the Leonin tribes. And they're basically like a little bit of a council. There's a very weird situation in Halion where there's no laws. There is instead traditions. And disobeying tradition would be very frowned upon. But there's no like set punishments or set ways. It can make it very difficult for outsiders to understand what's right and wrong, because there are some things like you should never go barefoot by the riverbank, right? Which it's not a law, but it's a tradition that's very strictly adhered to.
So if we commit crime, people would just frown at us. And be
Sort of. You don't really know, but also they'll protect their own, right? So if you take something that is theirs, then you might find yourself in a duel to the death. So it's a very traditional place, but the 7 elders are sort of regard them as guides. And at the head of the 7 elders is one single being, who is
Is
known.
it Andromeda?
No, he represents Andromeda, but he is called the Man of No Tribe. More specific, I mean, man in this form is obviously referring to Leonin. Not like...
It's quite interesting. Would Kiavo also be able to get me that information on which temple I should visit?
Perhaps after you guys have, like, you disembark, right? And the first thing that's going to happen is that Phoebe makes it clear in Leonin, and she does begin... Sandrak will begin quietly translating for all of you so that you're all looped in. That they bring a gift for the temples of Ulsmire. And this is where the obsidian, if you remember, large amount of obsidian that was grabbed onto the boat. And you will notice that very carefully, I don't have an exact count, so please, I'm going to say 38, but for all I know, it's 22. Or 18 or something. I have no idea how many. We just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 22, 23, 24. There you go. There are 24 constellations. So you'll see that Phoebe has had it very carefully divided into 25 portions. One for each of the temples, and one for he who is of no tribe. Temple, his temple, his palace. It's called a palace. You can see no palace. You guys can see across the whole city. There is no palace here. But yeah, it started to be offloaded, and some Leonin come who are dressed in black robes, with sort of appendage, a single star is holding the robes together. And they bow deeply but say nothing. And they will take the obsidian and they will deliver it, and then they will come back and they will take the next lot. Black is not a color that's comfortable to wear in the desert. And these men belong to he who is of no tribe. They belong to no specific pride. They have been given to he who is of no pride.
Are these guys any higher than the the common worshippers of the other constellations?
They're very respected in that they've given up their tribe, which is really, it's a huge sacrifice in the Leoninites, but it's a necessary sacrifice to maintain the city, and it's very wealthy families of prides will give their third son to this group. It's seen as like it's an honor and a privilege, but it's also a sacrifice, right? They're not quite swearing to celibacy and poverty, but they might as well be. For somebody who marries somebody who is of no pride, loses their own pride, right? Because the male is the pride carrier, and they're all males, so they pretty much swear their life away. Anyway, they'll quietly carry out these things, and you will begin to see the first people who look like they might actually be willing to have a conversation. You'll see 4 young Leonins. Teenage years. Curiously sort of looking around the boat, moving down towards the water. You notice sort of as they're peeking their heads. Those who are watching, give me an insight check, anybody who's interested in what these little scooters are up to.
Definitely, but are they wearing sandals by the water?
They are. They don't wear sandals. They don't wear sandals. It's like a cloth that is tied with a piece of rope. If they come down to the water, that is what they wear. And sorry, just to reiterate, they're not wearing sandals. They don't come close enough to them. Chiavo, you notice that they're looking for something. They're looking out.
Oh, mine didn't go through. I got a 20.
Yeah, it's alright. I'm going through various people. As if they're expecting something that happens on a regular basis when they come here. Hennick, you note that they're quite well dressed. They seem to have money of their own. These aren't street kids, if you like. Children of decent families. Alessio, you think maybe they're looking for a treat or something? They expect, and sure enough, as they're sort of nosing about.
Sorry, what are they looking for?
Some sort of treat or like something special that happens when boats come in.
Can I relay this to the other 2 guys that were looking at them? What do you guys think that they're looking for specifically?
Well, I mean, it's something fancy, perhaps. They look kind of well-to-do.
We can maybe show them some of our abilities to impress them.
Zandrak laughs, and he takes out a small pouch and starts tossing them boiled sweets.
Oh!
And each of the Leonins sort of catch them and laugh, and then immediately will come forward and offer their services to help carry any luggage into the town. Basically, they're working for sweets. They're just teenagers.
They are.
Looking to make their way in the world. You can show them your abilities if you like, Alessio, but I think they'd rather have a boiled sweet. And yeah, you guys can you guys can sort of wander through as you are led to. It's a sandstone building, but on the front is painted in a sort of darker red. It sort of looks like a sunset. And as you open the door, a huge Leonin female looks forward and welcome, welcome. Come on in, come on in. You must be with Phoebe, yes? Lovely, lovely. We find your rooms very comfortable. Your first time in Ulsmire, yes? You come in troubled times, but don't worry. There's still plenty of chocha. And she will begin sort of stirring up the pot and gets ready to hand each of you your own cup of chocha as you arrive in.
Man, it is probably very unusual to be seeing a Leonin wearing a friggin' black robe that isn't one of the tribalists.
Indeed, yeah. Well, also
Must
you have
be
no
looking very out of place in the desert. Yeah.
you have no star
Isn't it like a
appendages.
leathery too?
Oh, it's black dragon robes.
Yeah, it's
Full-on
made of a
dragon
skin
scale.
of an animal. Yeah, as
Yeah.
opposed to this light cloth.
Yeah.
Kiava looking like Neo.
In the middle of this place, yes.
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean she's
That's actually how I imagine Jamal. So
except she pays no attention to the black robe because she's absolutely fascinated by Sebastian. She
Wow.
sort of looks over and
Naturally.
a pride I have not heard of. You are small of stature, no?
Yes, the Munchkin tribe, of course.
I'll nudge Torin.
No, but that is what my subrace is called.
Yeah, he sort of bends deep to you. She bends deep to you and you are lost, little lion.
I'm not lost. My tribe is far, far, far to the north. We don't get out much, but I'm a bit of a rebel.
You take chocha too?
Yes, of course.
She rather demeaningly gets like a little cup that's used for espresso and fills that with chocha and hands it to you. Like you've just been given the kid's cup, basically.
Wait a moment, good woman. You are giving this cup to a battle soldier. You will not give him a smaller cup. He deserves a cup as big as ours. Respect his honor.
She sort of looks at you and I had meant no disrespect. I am sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Maybe it's just a human thing.
You are-
smaller cup.
Woman. Yeah.
You know, like if you give like a smaller cup to a human, it's a sign of disrespect. You know, that's why I
Ah.
took it that way. But you know, I
Ah,
get
you
it.
think it is perhaps a tradition for your people? Okay, that's fine. Tradition is to be respected.
Yeah.
And
I'll swap my cup with Sebastian.
she
'cause
well,
he's-
no, she goes sort of back and she gets this sort of large, almost bowl, and she fills it up with chocha and she sort of hands it down to Sebastian. And, mighty warrior.
I will take out to say, blessings of the stars upon you.
And he's polite as well. Look at that.
Strength check. I want to see if you can hold this giant.
Yes.
It's not that big. He takes it quite easily. And yeah, she sort of hands out different cups to you all. You'll notice she serves Kiavo last. Kiavo would understand this is not a sign of disrespect, but a sign of respect. You always start with the lowest of the household and lead upwards, perhaps unintentionally slighting Sebastian, but you know, she didn't really, she was curious. But certainly, the first people who the chocha was served to were her own housemates, right? And then she went up from there, so yeah. Once this is done, she sort of, the pot is warm, you may help yourself if you wish. So, you come for trade or travel? How may Obaja be of help? When she calls herself Obaja, this is not her name. This is like she who has been assigned to you to serve.
Well, I think one thing we might be interested in is simply what you know about why you call these troubled times.
The trouble to
Indeed.
the east, yes. No, it is not my place to speak of it in detail, for I am not learned, but I know that they say towns and villages. We don't have many in Halion, you know, and those that are towns and villages often not belong to the Leonin do. But if they be swallowed, like big beast from the ground. But the beast is the ground, or so say the rumors.
Yeah, that's about what we'd heard, I suppose.
She sort of makes a strange gesture and then sort of grabs her chin and almost like wobbling it, sort of like this, and then kisses her finger and puts it down. Samus.
Well, is there someone who is more learned on the topic who might be able to give us those details?
You wish to speak to a mouth?
Sounds about right.
I will send for one. And she rings a little bell, and this chestnut dark Leonin, almost black-skinned Leonin, comes out, and she's definitely female, but she looks quite young. And she sort of nods her head and addresses the woman as Mama. What can I do? And she's rapid string of Leonin comes out, and off she runs. And she comes back sort of about 12 minutes later to let you know that the mouth is on his way. And he will be with you shortly. In the meantime, she sort of... But you come to speak only of trouble, or you come to speak of riches and trade, or perhaps learn?
Henning, do you have any other matters with her?
Feel free, McPherson.
Obaja, I seek a temple.
You will find many in the land of Ulsmire. A temple for
Yes,
what?
I'm sorry, I should have been specific. I seek a temple to resurrect someone.
Resurrect? Like,
Yes, I have heard great things about Ulsmire. This
you want
capabilities.
to, like, bring somebody back from the dead?
Yes, indeed.
Ah, sacrilege! You cannot do this.
No.
It's not possible.
Why?
Why?
Yes.
Can you bring the moon closer? Can you change the stars in the sky? Can you raise the land to make mountains? Can you part the oceans? No more can
Well-
you resurrect the dead. These are the ways of the gods. They are not for us to mess with.
But I have heard of spells capable of doing such things.
Have you?
Maybe like legends, myths, rumors.
Yeah, I would say, like, very specifically human legends might have said that, like, oh, you know, he could raise people from the dead and...
Like,
in the
especially
same
at
stories
war,
of,
like
mythical
people like all the most
beasts.
noble warriors. Yeah.
Yeah, but mostly it's only that. Legends of many millennia ago. It doesn't sound like something. It says, perhaps if you beseech the gods, they will be willing to help you, but
Beseech?
it is like asking really nicely.
And how would I go about doing that?
You would have to speak to a god. But I
And how do
suppose
I
in
go
that
about doing
sense,
that?
you could start with a temple. Perhaps you could speak to Andromeda, but you must be wary. The priests may see this as blasphemous. For a man to attempt the deeds of the gods, or to ask more than they deserve, would be seen as a little rude.
Well, my request is not for me. Therefore,
But no, I did
maybe
just...
that will hold.
She sort of gestures and that you're alive. I thought as much.
Yes, it is for my beloved cat that I lost many, many years ago.
She looks him. Very good. The rest of you, you are here to trade, to learn, to talk. Say what?
Obaja, I wonder, might there be an armorer here in Ulsmire?
But it will make the armor of the pride. Yes, indeed. You are looking for perhaps one of the Oasis tribe. They are very learned in the ways of make the animal skins their own, you know?
Ah, yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. How might I recognize one of these Oasis tribe?
In Ulsmire, you do not recognize or seek a shop. You go to the home. Every Leonin can tell you where every tribe is. You must hope that one of the Oasis tribe are at home. For they may have been in the Oasis at this time. Though, given the time of troubles, most people are at home. The Oasis tribe, she draws you a sort of image, literally of a pool of water with a palm tree and a star, all on the front of the house. You may notice on door is signet no tribe. And then she sort of gestures to herself and says, oh, what's her fucking name? I had it right there. Amara is of tribe. But this house is of no tribe. Is of visited tribe. The setting sun.
I see.
Basically, it's a way of saying, like, your people walk in the daylight, whereas we walk under the stars of Andromeda. So anywhere with this setting sun is a sort of, it's a welcome to anyone non-Leonin. But yeah, she'll draw you this little image, and she basically says, like, it's easy, because you can, because the buildings are squat and they're built down into the ground, anybody of your height will be able to see hundreds of them at once, right?
Gotcha.
So you just look for the image of the desert oases and hope that somebody can point you to an armor, really. Yeah. It's fine work. He does. And then she pats like how do I explain it? It's like a small coffee table, I guess, but it's really tall. It's like do you know those bar tables that you put stools around? Yeah, great. She pats one of those, which is made from like the back of a large crab. She was like, this work of Oasis Tribe.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I have this, and I'll like, what I assume is a big bag. Sort of open it up and show her the sandworm hide.
Oh yes, the sandworm. Well, it's not a hide. If you remember, it's a single piece of
Carapace.
like it's a single piece of carapace. It's almost like a scale, basically. Yeah. Mighty, it is strong. You slay the desert worm.
Yes, we slew this not very long ago.
And
Perhaps a week and a half ago.
They are said to be impossible to kill by mortal hands. That is a powerful deed you have done.
Yeah, well, we are.
You are mighty warriors.
Mortals, indeed.
And you hear this voice from the door. Mighty warriors. Indeed, I have heard tales. Please, I am Obed. I am a mouth for the... I'm a mouth for the Everthun tribe.
Pleased to make your acquaintance. Henrik, this is the gentleman we were waiting for.
Yeah, thank you for coming. We just,
He gives you
I thought one of the things...
very confused look at that. You called?
Well, I've called for people in my time that didn't bother to show up, but...
That is abandoning their duty. I do not
It
abandon
happens.
mine. Well, it's a pleasure to
Well,
make
and so we
acquaintance.
appreciate that.
And he sort of gestures towards the table where Amara, the Obaja, is placing out cups of chocha. And we drink before talk. And as he sits, he sort of raises his cup to you. And to all of you, not just to you, Henrik. And sort of motions and drinks deeply. So, how may I be of service?
Well, just whatever you might know, detail-wise, about some of the troubles with the desert swallowing villages up and that sort of thing. We had run into some who'd known of this, and in fact, a dragon, in fact, who had some folk swallowed up, and we saw some. Well, my friend here saw some large mountain-looking things way across the desert, and just thought, you might have collected more info on the situation.
Yes. Some people think the end of days is coming. Andromeda protect us, but it is good to speak of these things. For those who come from far shores may know of more. So, it is now almost, we call them months, 6 months, yes. Since the first happening. the ground that rose up, big mouth, was a small village. Village of friends to the Leonin, you know. A little Loxodon tribe. They look after themselves well. They are gone. Very far beneath the earth. A small mound was left in its place. Many the Leonin did send of prides, far and wide, to help to dig, find the Leonin. But nothing was found. Gone, swallowed beneath the ground. Far beneath the ground. Since then, it was another few small villages and tribes. The Leonin we make not the place to stay apart from Ulsmire. Sometimes at the oasis, you know. So the villages that have been swollen, they usually not of the Leonin tribes. Of the shifters, they have lost many, many tribes. Eaten by the mouth of the earth. It rises and falls in one swift go. Remember to protect us. But recently, the pride. I don't know the word in your language. Keoralis tribe. Like walk beneath open sky tribe. They are nomad. They travel far east to far west, you know. They make the trip to the oasis and they are going back to the west. They are big, big tribe. Very respect. Romida. Protect us. They are gone to the man. Every one of them. The travels the ground come up, it swallow them. They leave not a small hill, but a big, square block. We have tried to climb to the top of the block and dig beneath the block. We have given thanks and praise to each of the constellation, and we have begged for mercy for our deeds that we have done. It is...
Have they spoken back to you?
No. It is not the place of this mouth to say so, but my lord, he does not believe in the way. He says that this is not a punishment for their deeds. Like, when disaster happen in the Leonin land, we believe it is punishment for deeds that we have done, evil we have committed. My master thinks this is not the case. This is divergence. This is doing of other being. Like evil of the human or the elven kind, you know? Not of the Leonin way. This is not an act by God. Not punishment for the Yoralan tribe, but it is disaster.
But the gods, they
No.
haven't answered your calls.
The gods answered in their own ways. Perhaps they have spoken, and we have only but misheard. For now we gather to Ulsmire and hope that our gods will protect us in this land.
So, how many tribes have been lost?
Of the Leonin, only the one tribe has been lost in complete, because only the Kioralan tribe woke in full. Many tribes have lost lots and lots of people. The High Pride, Daring Rock, Rakoros. Many tribes have lost large groups walking.
Well, we can tell you that similar, though different things have been happening across Beldania, and so I don't know if that puts your mind at ease too much about the punishment. It's not that people everywhere don't perhaps have things to be punished for, but...
It is this news that makes Master think that it is not the Leonin gods punishing us for our deeds, but a creation of some mankind. And he looks to Alessio at this point, and I do not mean specifically the human. Just
Oh no, it's
not
okay.
of
I'm too
Leonin.
dumb to understand magic. Don't worry.
It's okay. But he's basically saying he just thinks it's not Leonin people. And to them he calls them mankind.
But could there be? Is there any writings in the Leonin scriptures that speak of the earth revolting against those who walk it?
No. Not as far as we know.
We have no similar scriptures in humankind, I believe.
No, your days are short. By that, he means that your history is shorter than everybody else's. Humans came later.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Yes, but this potentially means that whatever is coming for us all is not intrinsically involved with our backgrounds. It might be something above everyone.
I hope.
I don't. That means we won't be able to fix it. Good lady.
Well, no, he didn't. He just meant like he hopes it's not something that's about backgrounds, right? He hopes that it is something that everybody can band together to fight.
Absolutely. Hear ye. And I raise my toast.
Amara comes over and says something very quietly and rapidly in his ear. Give me a perception check, Kiabo.
That is 6. Oh dear.
6.
Yeah.
You make out something about strong, unusual. You don't hear much more than that. He sort of nods
Okay.
and looks back to you all, and I am told you are strong of hand and of also of mind. At this point he looks to Sebastian and sort of nods his head, and I hear you are a great warrior.
The orb crown will like glow orange, and I'll message him the greatest.
It is not tradition, but perhaps tradition can be walked around in this occasion. Perhaps I might impeach upon he who has no tribe to speak with you. If you would speak with him. The council,
Sure.
they would like to be informed of the great deeds you have done on our lands. They say you slew one of the great worms of the desert. For a while we thought the great worms may have been eating the towns. But we have discarded that theory. Nevertheless, it would be interesting for the council to hear that these creatures can die.
Should we show them?
For the mod.
Well, from both creatures,
worm
we've collected
steak?
quite a few we collected some trinkets, didn't we?
Uh,
From the birds as well.
Yeah. You do have many things, but he will sort of, if you go and bring your trophies out, he will sort of, please, your word is enough, I believe. But I am but a humble mouth. I can speak not for my lord's views until I have spoken to him again. And with your great prowess, perhaps you should be seen by the council themselves. If you are willing.
What do you guys think?
When would we be meeting the council?
Perhaps 2 sundown. 2 nights.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make my opinion clear. I'm quite interested. I don't know about you guys.
Do we know how long Phoebe wants to stay in town just for transacting business?
A couple of days. At least. But as you remember, the boat realistically is up. It's up to you guys. But
Right.
she wanted to spend at least 2 days, right? Because the problem is that they only do business at dusk and dawn, which means that doing business can take a little while.
Yeah.
And please, of the day tomorrow you may have, and of the night tonight, be at peace. Tomorrow night we will find meeting with council. Yes.
Well, I don't know how great we are, but you all shared some information with us. If we can do the same for you, we'd be happy to do it.
This is proper. Yes. Sharing of news is the most important of meetings between travelers.
All right then.
And he sort of reaches down to his chocha cup, and you'll see he's drank almost exactly half of it. And he will raise it, and may we share. And it's sort of a symbol for sharing a bond, right? And then he drinks the rest and nods to you, and he heads out, leaving you with A city to wreck. You've only got 24 hours, though. I know, obviously, that Alessio wants to go visit the temples. The traditional time to visit the temples would be night time, which is fairly soon. The sun is beginning to set. Amara, the Obaja, will make a meal for you all.
Would anyone like to join?
Can I, if you wouldn't mind, can we all go together?
Oh,
Is that
yes.
all right? Yeah. Just so that we can all partake. Because otherwise, we get on the boat, we get a lot of people having to sit out and be quiet for a long period of time. So it'd be nice to just take it all together. And
I was kind of hoping that because he's really dumb. So even if someone tells him something, he won't understand it.
well, Amara looks at you and perhaps I can offer you the services of my... That sounds a bit strange, doesn't it, in your language? In my language, it is normal for me to offer you the services of my daughter, but... Well...
An Obaja.
No. Obaja... How I say? It is not me that chooses to come to serve you, but my pride that tells me I am to be of your service. That make me Obaja. I am... Basically, she tries to explain that she's in a home that's not apportioned to her tribe. It's apportioned to the tribe of visitors.
Yes,
Because
yes.
she has been assigned that service, it means she has not lost her tribe rights. She can return home to her tribe. She's still part of the tribe. She is just sort of on loan, I guess. Her daughter is too young to be an Obaja, like a long way. Instead, no, she is of the city. She is a troublesome little whelp, but she is a good lass, and she will show you all around. Perhaps you may have noticed, but most of the Leonin, they stay at home in the day and in the night and come out only dusk and dawn. But the youngsters, like the little whelp here, they are allowed a bit more play.
I'll lean to Kiav and say, wow, man, learning more about the Leonian really makes me think you are a weird-ass mother. And then I'll turn to Henrik and say, Henrik, it's your decision. Shall we bring the child? You're the most responsible of us all.
Well, I mean, I think certainly a local who knows the situation is something to be respected.
She sort of comes over and she greets you with quite great common, and she's sort of like, hey, how's it going?
Oh.
You alright? Good, I'm looking forward to this. It's nice to get out. I spent far too much time down by the docks. Lots of your people, actually, and she gestures towards Henrik. I'm Zana. Let's, should we walk the town?
Yeah, let's do that.
She sort of smiles and explains that, Leonin can be a stiff-necked folk. She prefers the more relaxed areas of the main port. But did you want to go down to the ports where the people are not Leonin and the buildings are not sunken down and they're not tribal? Or did you want to visit the Leonin buildings?
Well, my friend here seems to have some interest in visiting some of the temples. I don't know that anyone has much other use. Torin may need to find a place to sell some wares, that sort of thing, but...
She's not a child. She's about 17, 18. Leonins, they're sort of regarded as being young until they're 25. Obviously, in such a stiff-necked society where you're expected to stay at home most of the day and most of the night, they try and encourage the children to have freedom up to an older age. It takes a long time to mature to that sort of level of stability and sobriety. She'll sort of look at you and, oh, temples. I thought we were going to go out drinking. Oh, well. Okay, well, we'll start with the temples, I guess. But you guys look like a bit like party folk. She sort of gestures towards Sebastian.
That sounds fitting for Sebastian.
Well, we're a bit of a mixed group, but let's get this out of the way first, perhaps.
She sort of looks to Kiavo's wear and, you're no normal Leonin, right?
You have a keen eye. You are correct. I'm very much not.
You escaped, did you?
Let's say not by choice, but yes. Yes,
Oh,
I
you're an
did.
exile? That's cool.
Not an exile, but
Oh. boy.
far off the cliff.
I thought about stowing away on a boat once. going out to sea. Get away from these people, but they have their charm. Anyway, Temple, which one do you want to see?
One that he deals with matters of bringing dead things back to life. Whatever that is. What?
There's
Never heard of resurrection?
There's a satyr over in the docks that does like tricks. You mean
I
like
don't
that?
mind shady dealings. I don't
No, you
mind
mean
the
like-
shady ones.
You mean like tricks and make believe?
No, like if someone died about 20 years ago, what would I do to bring them back?
I don't understand. You've lost their body?
I know where their body is. It's my cat. Yes,
You
I
want
buried
to
it.
bring it back to your homeland?
Well, I just want to bring it back alive, really.
To life?
Yes, indeed.
He thinks for a moment.
He doesn't.
Perhaps I take you to see Mensa?
Yes, that sounds like a mystical magical name. Surely she will have some mystical magical answers. Lead the way.
Mensa is the father of all magic.
Even better, it seems that I was right.
And she will lead you through the city.
Henrik, your intelligence is rubbing off on me.
And she
Oh,
will...
Yes,
Hang on.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Mensa, is this one which is in association with the satyrs? Because I know Leonin and magic do not mix.
No, Leonin and magic do exist. Do mix. They just Leonins themselves don't have magic.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I meant. Yeah.
But she will lead you over to a place called Mensa. The building is cut in the shape of a key. And on the front door you will see a sort of this stars in the shape of a key. As you enter in, it's dark in here with a single white light at this. There are two deep red-robed female Leonin awaiting who enters. Upon seeing that you are not Leonin, they sort of startled a little bit. Come. You seek knowledge arcane?
Something like that.
She looks to Chiavo and then to Sebastian. You travel with those who have such magic about them. How can Mensa be of service?
Do you know of any magic powerful enough to resurrect someone? Someone that died many, many years ago.
The two women turn to each other. First, you must understand that what you speak of is... It does not align with the Leonin beliefs.
Yes, I
But
have been told that.
there is a story in the archive. I will seek it. And she closes her eyes, and you see a book underneath the light over behind her begin to turn rapidly. Though she is nowhere near it.
You guys can see for the first time, Alessi's probably quite nervous and slightly shaking.
She stops on a certain page and she turns to you. Once it was said, many millennia ago, there were the people called the Moon Elves, who lived upon this land before all other beings. It is said that they could place their life inside an object or creature or being, and later retrieve it, such. Thus, after many years, they could return from what appeared to be death, and store their souls in what they called phylacteries. and later return to them, allowing them to live more than one life.
Would we be able to return a soul that has been passed into this phylactery?
If the person placed their soul in a phylactery, it is a magic that is long lost to all but Mensa himself. There are legends of those with such magic powers, but they are the same legends that tell of great mythical beasts and flying ships and all sorts of other strange tales that do not exist. But stories for children.
As she's saying this, Torin sort of will pull out his crystal flower, sort of ponder on it a little bit.
She notices, but invites you to speak if you wish. Sort of opens her hand towards you.
I'll hold it out and sort of say, is this the sort of thing that you're
A little bit, but this is a moment. It takes a moment in time. It prevents it from occurring. It takes the time at which your life force leaves you, pushes it back. This is something that some of our strongest priests can do, and indeed many of the temples of the certain life. You are in the moments before your soul has truly departed your body, but your body has given up living. It is easy to turn back the tide. Once you have found rest in the places beyond, call someone back would not only be impossible, it would be divinely cruel. For they are on their next journey.
What if they wanted to return? What if they said that they didn't want to die?
Nobody wants to die, child. It does not mean that they have not discovered that there is another step on the journey. Of these tales, most of them seem like the stories of children. I'm sorry, but you must come to terms with your loss.
How impossible is it?
How impossible is it to take the moon out of the sky and make of it a drink? Impossible is it to eat the sun? This is what you ask.
Torin will rest a hand on Alessio's shoulder.
The Leonin gods, they do not know everything. We have our own views. There is a tale, but I am not permitted of it to speak.
Please.
I can send you to one who may know the stories. She is Ulsmire. Tiavo, even though it's been a long time since you've lived in the Leonin lands, upon hearing the word Dusvana, you are a little troubled, a little taken aback. Dusvana means like banished, but it is her spirit that's banished. She is without spirit, without worth, without. She no longer walks beneath the stars. Is basically what it means. She's banished to the sunlight.
Wait, how did she become that?
For telling these tales and researching magics that are dark. They contravene the way of the Leonin beliefs. Begging pardon, but you, and she gestures towards Alessio, if you were Leonin, you are on the path to Dusvana.
And if I wasn't?
That is why I recommend it.
Where is she?
Her name is Ula. She lives at the docks. We'll find her begging. Selling trinkets.
Thank you for your candor.
I urge you not to seek this. It will end only in sadness. If you wish for aid in coming to terms with your loss, then a Surta can guide you.
For many years I have sought guidance in Lacerta. It's time that I seek another answer. And if sadness is truly what is at the end of this path, at least it will be a different sadness than the one I bear now.
May I ask of you a question? And she looks over to Sebastian.
Yeah.
You walk in two forms. Is this a choice?
A happy coincidence.
If you wish, it can be undone.
No, I think everyone should be like me. You know, beautiful, soft, smart, powerful. You
Sebastian,
yes.
don't you want to be a real boy again?
She smiles, and as you say that, your companion is very wise. Continue the path that life lays out for us is very Leonin.
Forgive him. He's just upset that he didn't ascend to dragonhood.
She laughs. And if it is not rude of me to ask, may I see that you wear upon your head?
Sure.
She wants to see the orb. As she looks down at the orb, it begins to spin. And it moves from orange to deep, deep midnight blue. See her focused and it focused, almost like a contest of wills. And her companion walks over slowly and places her hand upon the other's hand. Squeezes tightly. Focuses with her, and after a moment they step back. Thank you. You have brought knowledge to Mensa. May Mensa bring knowledge to you. We have something if you wish. Knowledge
What
from
did you
the
do?
Leonin people. We learnt. Basically, they have learnt the spells that are inside the orb. They can't cast the spells, but they have learnt the nature of the spells and what they do, and they will be able to store that knowledge for any other wizard who comes by who wishes to learn.
Oh.
And
Fun as they don't teach it to this guy, I'm good.
well, she gestures. So you remember there was a book under a light, which moved when she thought backwards. Well, there is a book that is not under the light, that when she walks over towards it, faint moonlight comes through a shaft in the ceiling. It seems to have retracted on its own accord. And you will see another book, thick tome. It's a spell book. And it just says, seek a page. It is yours. And then she gestures towards Gov and says, and you too. Every spell that the Leonin people have ever learned is there. But as you reach out, you're looking for a page that calls to you. Is there a single spell that either one of you would have in mind? Perhaps it might turn to. You. I mean, obviously, Wish would be completely useless to you right now because you won't be able to cast it for 5 levels, right? You as you look through it though, you do see spells, even the 6th level, effectively. But
I thought there weren't many Leonin that could actually harness magic, so I wouldn't have thought there would have been that many
she
spells.
smiles at you, and most of these spells that are put in here are not put here by Leonin.
But a satyrs by any chance?
Old books, traveling tomes, magicians and tricksters of all types. Some of the strongest spells from the oldest books of the elves before time, the moon elves.
So to see a Leonin I can use times in here.
Do remember that? Yeah, well, they've never. She'll say to you, I have seen but one Leonin who could wield magic like yourself. But she was very old. Comes from the island of which we do not speak.
island of which you didn't speak.
I can say no more.
It's a place that isn't just Runa there. Okay. I will say no more.
Sebastian, is there a particular spell that takes your fancy, or would you like to roll for it?
Yeah, I'm just looking at 5th level and 6th level spells.
Yeah, I mean, or if you prefer, you can just roll. See what happens.
I'd rather not roll because then I'll end up getting something stupid like transmute rock or something.
What about you, Kiavo? Anything particular take your fancy?
I have one, and I wonder if they have it. A spell called Ride the Lightning.
Ride the Lightning?
Yes.
I've never heard of it.
It's homebrew.
Yeah, who's homebrew?
I wanted to ask if that was this is my opportunity to ask if that spell is fine.
Right. Oh, how are you saying this? Oh, I'm looking in your
It's
spellbook.
in,
Hold on.
it's just
Sorry,
in
I'm
the
looking in your...
spellbook list.
Yeah, I was looking in your spellbook.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds fun. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
why not? Yeah, definitely. You can know that. What have you, Sebastian?
So I think I'm tied between 2. Well, no, I'm kind of tied between 3, to be honest. One of them being Fabricate, which is a 4th level spell.
Okay.
One being Mislead, which is a 5th level spell.
Sorry, I'm not saying you can't have it. I'm just saying I don't know it.
Do you want me to tell you what
No,
it does?
I'm doing that. Carry on. What's next?
And then the other one is Modify Memory.
Yeah. Well, Modify Memory and Fabricate are definitely present. Yeah. Something you could learn.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll go with.
I think Fabricate is not concentration, which might aid you considering your number of concentration.
Yeah, I think I am gonna go Fabricate just because it seems incredibly useful.
Yep, and there is no cost to writing these 2 to your spellbook. Gift of Mensa.
I'm just taking a further look, see if there were any other options.
You can do so in
That's
retrospect,
interesting.
but we'll proceed.
Oh,
Route.
that's fine.
Down. Having been to the Temple of Mensa, and they will sort of nod and smile to you and let you go. Zana sort of looks to you and strange people, right? Where do you want to go next? Temple of Death?
Even as we're leaving, Henrik is gonna speak to Alessio and just say, McPherson, this thing you want to do, if this were painless or prudent, you wouldn't be carrying that mace. And walk away. Off on his own. Natasha's mace.
Oh, of course.
Could you give me a little insight on what that means?
Yeah. Henrik was listening. Never taking the lead on any of this, right? If you're not, I was not just out of it, but deliberately not being the talker in some of this situation because I didn't necessarily think it was a great idea, but for Henrik, he's curious because of Natasha, and by the end of it, I'm not sure he knows enough to know like how dark some of that was, but it wasn't anything pleasant. And he has concluded that this is not a legit path, and basically like, don't do this. If this was a wise thing to do, we would still have Natasha around, and I'm not into this whole scene, and I'm gonna walk off and do my own thing.
May I share something with you, Henrik?
Make it quick.
I perhaps haven't been fully honest with all my intentions. Many, many years ago, I lost someone much, much important to me. And from that day onward, I would swear that any piece of gold, any travel, and any journey that I would pursue would be in her honor, to bring her back. So, no matter how dark this path gets, that is the meaning of my life. And I cannot just forego it because there might be adversity or darkness with the trail that I have to follow.
Sometimes we are faced with the wisdom of either keeping our word or realizing it was foolishly given. You're not bound by that. And there are other reasons to do these things.
I am bound by it, Henrik. There is nothing else in my life that matters other than abiding by that promise.
I don't own you, man. But, I think you may find, well, you may wish you hadn't.
Have you ever lost someone, Henrik? Someone close to you, someone that you had blood bonds with?
Well, not of family, but of village, and then trials and tribulations and so on and so forth. Again, the former owner of that weapon you got there.
I do not mean to quantify or even compare the feelings that we have towards our loss, but if given the chance to bring someone back, would you truly refuse to do it? Would you not pursue the path that would lead you to being able to bring them back?
I didn't like the sound of that particular path. If you find another to the same end, I'll walk it with you. But for now, I think I need to walk by myself.
Nick goes to walk away. Is that what you mean by walk by yourself? You actually walk away?
Yeah. Sort of wander up. I mean, obviously, if something explodes behind us, I'll run back.
Zana sort of looks over to you and... Friend, hey, you may walk freely. Or we place no constraints. The traditions of the Leonin are many. Strict. I urge you to keep to the paths. And perhaps if you wish for solace and walk alone, head to the docks where many non-Leonin walk.
That sounds fine.
It's a bit awkward because Alessia's also going to the docks now, so we're probably walking like...
but she's just... she's basically just saying, like, there's a lot of ways in which you can upset people without realizing you've done so. Just be careful. And they're not going to stab you in the night, right?
No, they certainly won't.
Yeah, so... the rest of the group, did you... Oh, no, not that. The rest of the group, as you're wandering through, Corin, you will notice the sign of the oasis on a large group of houses, at the center of which is a temple. And this temple is shown with a blacksmith's hammer. Sky of stars.
Well, if that was ever the place to look for some armor. Or a blacksmith.
Do you want to go to the temple, or do you want to go to one of the houses around it?
I'd say we should probably just hit up the temple. I assume there, if anyone's there, they might be of the Oasis tribe anyway.
Oh, yeah. So, when you go in, the first thing you will hear from sort of, even from a distance as you're getting close, is the ringing of a hammer on metal. When you get in, it's like a forge, but at the very center is a forge that is decorated with stars made of black metal with silver markings. And and a hammer is
Very
painted
flash.
into it, and it looks like it's not been used. It's like very pristine.
Mm.
And the moonlight falls down through the gap in the temple ring onto this forged table. There is a huge muscled Leonin wearing a sort of reddy brown, sort of irony, rusty coloured robe with a black hammer down the centre. And he turns to you. Ale. Greetings.
Greetings, friend. My name is Torin.
Come for advice?
Yes, perhaps. I wish to have some work commissioned, perhaps.
Think you have misunderstood the Temple of Fornax. We do not forge iron, we forge hearts.
Oh. Well, I do
Oh.
apologize.
Though we work only for the good and glory of the temples. But I understand your question, and Barandas is only across the road. It's him that you will want to speak to about the commissioning of armor and weapons. Tell me, you wield the hammer yourself?
No, not myself. Never much the smithing type. I do dabble in leatherwork here and there. I'll sort of like...
The signs of creation are within you. You're not the only one. He sort of gestures towards Hennek and Kiavo. You have made things recently, yourself or for others. It shows. Light is upon you.
You have a keen eye.
Hmm.
I have an eye for the work of my
Interesting
God.
that you could tell so easily.
It's something that many of mankind do not even understand. The art of creating something, crafting something, and making something. Sorry, he would have gestured towards Hennek. I just remembered Hennek. But that's fine.
Oh.
In the art of creating, in the art of building something, making something, you give something of yourself, and in turn, you get so much more back. Satisfaction, but also an understanding of your place in the world. Make more of something. Beautiful thing. It shows in your bearing, in your...
Oh,
Fornax
thank you. I
knows.
never thought of it that way, but your words are very kind.
Fornax was the hammer that Indus wielded in the forging of the worlds. Understands craft. He understands
see.
strength.
Well, it does take true strength to wield the hammer. I'll sort of pat him on his bulging biceps.
It does, but perhaps there is a lesson you might learn. He looks at you quite directly and almost rudely. He's like, you must learn the patience, have the ability to see the goal long, long before the result is made. Do not expect things to happen quickly. Or hasty. And then he sort of gives this bellowing laugh. Come, don't take offense to an old man's words. You'll find your armor across the road with Berandas.
Thank you, friend.
And at that point, we're just going to take another 2 refills of hot drinks. Hello and welcome back. We had left the Temple of Fornax and you were headed over to Berandas, one of the Oasis tribe. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Fantastic. Yeah, so there's lots of these squat buildings, but he's pointed the one directly across the road. Road's a glorified term for a sandy desert town, but you know what I mean. It's just over there, basically. Yeah.
I'll give a knock on his door, I guess.
Yeah.
Or is it sort of like an open hut?
Yeah. There's no. So the way these buildings work is they're double entrance, right? So basically, if you go in, you'll find yourself in like a small porch with another door.
Okay.
There's no door at the outside one. The inside one has like a doorway. But again, it's sort of
Like a cloth or something.
yeah, it's just like a hanging. There's nothing to knock on, basically. But you can call out.
Hello, Barandis?
Hello, I come. He sort of hesitates. Peeks his head around the... Ah. It's the voice of Saleh. I thought it might be. It's a while since I spoke the tongue of the common people. I will do my best. Please
I
come
do
in.
apologize. I have a Leonin companion if you prefer to speak.
It is
Yeah,
okay.
come.
In practice is good. The chocha is warm. The wife will bring. Come sit.
Excellent.
And he'll lead you in to a sort of stone table, very squat. This is leading everyone. Yeah, like I'm sort of really reluctant to leave him wandering off. Ben doesn't get to be here, but
No, it's fine. I mean, like, especially if she said like you only should go straight back to the docks. I mean, it's as long as he was able to sort of like walk a little bit away from the group and not
Just like
converse
cool off a
with them,
little bit.
it's
I
okay.
suppose.
Yeah, basically. That's
okay.
fine. If they get somewhere that looks interesting, he can.
Yeah.
Shuffle
Is
in the
Alessio
back.
still with us?
Yes.
Alessio would have probably also gone to the docks to speak to Ula, so it's likely that he and
Okay, so
And
I think
they
you guys are
probably,
getting a
like-
little bit confused by the meaning of the word docks. So you knocked up at a little bit of a river platform and went to a home. You haven't been anywhere near the sea docks. That's quite a long walk, right? The sea docks are the port, right? And they're all the way through the whole city and out. We will get there as a group. I think it's fair to say you're going that way anyway, because that is how you came across this thing. I think it just for the sake of session, I think if we just say that everybody's sort of somewhat together for now, that'd be great.
yeah, if that's the
that's
case,
fine.
then yeah.
Yeah, just because otherwise people are just going to be sat there in silence the rest of the session. Is like,
Honestly, it was more like one of those things for dramatic purposes and also for my what I'm thinking of to say purposes. Is like I don't really want to come to any conclusion of this conversation. It needs to just be
yep, that's
hacked
fine.
off.
Yeah, and of course everybody's sitting pretty quiet anyway while Torin engages in business. But the chocha will be served to all by this woman. She gives a very curious look at Sebastian and goes off. And then you see her after a while holding up what looks to be a house cat that is white and fluffy and sort of turning it around and then looking over at Sebastian. And she puts the cat on the counter, which it meows and wanders off. Torin, you are greeted by Barandus, who sort of he takes a sip of the chocha. And by this point, you guys are almost getting sick of this hot chocolate. But it's not. It doesn't make you thirsty like normal cocoa does, and it's got enough water content. It's a little bitter. It's not sweet all the time. And it's the only thing these fuckers drink, apart from water. But anyway, as you sit down, and so you have come for work.
Yes, I visited the temple and you were highly recommended to me.
By which they mean they are ashamed of me for trading with what they regard as outsiders. Well, the Leonin secrets of blacksmithing are yours, my friend. How may I be of help?
Well, and I'll pull out the sack with the carapace and I guess like sort of plop it on the table in front of him and say, I wish to have this sandworm carapace turned into a piece of armor for my friend here.
It is from the desert worm.
Aye, that it is. We slew one.
You slayed it. Ooh.
Indeed. Mightily. I believe it was...
Hi,
Is this
you are
Sebastian?
jesting with an
Or-
old man.
I just not.
Was it
Horrendous.
nearly dead and you just...
Oh no.
It
Not
does
at
not
all.
seem nearly dead. No, I don't think.
It actually looked pretty chipper, like young. and
It was.
you tell funny stories.
strong. I'll pull out the bird claws. We also killed this the other day.
Ah, yes, there were 3 of them, actually.
You are not jesting.
They were all incredibly hard fights, but we do not jest.
No, Chiavo. What do you speak of, good man?
He looks to Chiavo and to Torin and to Alessio, and it's kind of like, okay, I can sort of see this. And then he looks down to Henrik, and Sebastian was like, even you?
Had it not been for then, we would be lying on a grave right now, good man. Mind your tongue. Sorry.
He looks to the large axes and swords upon his walls and looks down to Henrik, who is shorter than most of them.
I find the right word under the right circumstances can do a lot of good. To be fair, I think it was my fault the worm showed up in the first place.
That is true. My wife has slain me with words many times. I will give you that.
Yes, and Henrik's wit is sharper than any sword that I've ever faced against.
Then you have not been to Barandas's blacksmithing. We make swords
Perhaps
sharper than
not.
any. But 'tis not a sword you want, but armor, correct? And for
Indeed.
whom is this fitting? The
Ah,
little
this
one?
young gentleman
And
right
sort
here.
of holds it up in front of Henrik and Sebastian. Oh, for Alessio. Can be done. It must be done. But must be forged only by moonlight.
My moonlight, you say?
If we had, perhaps, some obsidian, placed here and here, and here and here. Perhaps a sun crystal from the desert, placed at the center. We could, great magic, invest in this.
We did receive obsidian, right? Like a bit of it?
There was like 6 million tons of it on the ship. Yeah, you can grab some. And one of the crystals.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, there were hundreds in here. It's going to be the finest work I have ever done.
Oh.
I'm afraid I must
Fantastic.
demand a princely sum. This work. Or to depart with it is surely going to break my heart.
Name your price, Brandis, and we shall see.
1,000 pieces of gold. Rico, I'm sorry, not Rico. Torin, you do get the impression that he was a little tongue-in-cheek when he said this.
Yeah, as he said that, I'll sort of like choke on my chocha a little bit.
Something funny.
Surely you jest, Brandis.
Perhaps I could stretch to 950.
I will pull out the set of bracers that I had been working on the ship.
Oh, you are a craftsman. I see. Okay, fine. 500. He realizes that you may actually understand the way that crafting works, and that 1,000 gold can buy 3 palaces.
Good sir, what of the honor we will bring this armor? What of the tales we will tell, naming you as a great craftsmanship that has concocted such a piece of brilliant armory for us to lead into battle?
All right, 450. And then his wife just comes up and like whacks him around the back of the head with a fan. It's like, do not embarrass yourself onto these people. He will charge 250, but that is the final price. He looks
Seems
up.
like
and,
she doesn't always stick to words.
He looks over at Henrik and the words are most powerful. Oh.
Can I gift her
I will charge
a-
250 and no more. Go on, then, let's
May
see.
I please gift her a cultist dagger as a token of respect for their house and for her kindness as well?
You go to hand it to her. He puts his hand down on yours. Goes to look at it. And then he lets it be passed to her. Checking that it is not
I have
in any
slain
way-
many foes with it. It comes with many tales.
Verandis, if you'll allow me a moment, I'd like to speak with my companions.
You need funding.
Yeah, I just
We
want to
need
gather everyone
funding.
really. I want to gather everyone in real close and say, Henrik, how much do we have in our?
Before you do
treasury.
so, he will tell you of some of the powers that this weapon that this armor might have.
Okay. I'm listening.
So he will tell you that this is most incredible armor. Whilst wearing it, you may find that you avoid or dodge things more easily. You are harder to grab hold of. The suit will include gauntlets and heavy boots and a visored helmet and thick layers of padding underneath the armor. Buckles and straps to distribute the weight over the body,
Please, good
increasing
sir,
one's armor
stop.
class.
I'm too hot
and
already.
You will be untouchable by any poison.
All right, noted.
I,
You are quite the salesman, Mirandus. I'll give you that. Okay. Group huddle. Panic. Alessio, calm yourself.
Well, I mean-
Keep it in your pants.
And he will offer
Absolutely
you.
right.
He will offer you 15 gold for your braces if you wish.
I was gonna offer him the bracers plus 220.
Wait, because I might have.
I'm afraid that the
Um,
wife has spoken. 250 for the armor, but I will give you 20 for the braces.
Can I clarify something? Is this armor for Hennig?
No, it's
No,
armor
it's
for
for
you.
Alessio.
You.
Oh,
We get armor
okay.
for-
I was under the impression this was for Hennig.
Heavy
Um,
armor.
I made Henrik his fancy
Either way,
face shrouded armor
yeah.
already.
You're the only
I
person who can wear it.
have an armor of gleaming chainmail, which I can put forward to maybe reduce the price.
You're forgetting something in Beldania. He can melt it down for pieces, but it's going to be worth the amount of the metal that it costs because armor
how
must
much would that
made
be?
to fit.
Probably like negligible.
10 gold.
Like, I'm happy to sell quite a few things
Like-
because I don't want this to be another burden in the party's
Like-
pouch.
10 gold.
I mean, Torin has about 120 gold right now. I don't know what the party pot is.
0. I have 0 gold.
I have 243.
In the party pot or in your personal.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's
I-
I
you
just
just,
have
you
it
just
all
looped up the
together,
two. Yeah.
Henrik doesn't buy much for himself, so
Some vegetables here and there.
yeah, right, and that's really for everybody too. This is obviously very good. What do you have now, Bruno?
Armor of
0.
gleaming chainmail, which gives me a 16 to my AC.
Yeah, so I don't know what type of armor this will be, but the embellishments alone
It's plate
are
plus
obviously
2.
a lot better.
Plate.
Yeah, there you go.
Plate.
So it's gonna
Wow.
be crazy.
Oh, you pinged it. I see. I didn't.
Yeah, it's like
Not gonna lie,
20 armor class, I think, or 21.
Jeez.
I'm willing to sell quite a lot.
I'm willing to
in
sell my
exchange
house!
for this.
My house, my
No, take
horse,
it-
I'll sell Sebastian!
Take all my
You
weapons.
know how much I've been wanting better armor, so I'm.
But
you
it's
know,
also,
I'll
I just,
sell.
I mean, I said this with the weapons as well, just to make you guys aware. Once these purchases are made, it's going to be a hell of a long time before Alessio sees anything else to buy.
Well,
Basically.
let's put it this way. We can always get return on our investment from this. I'll just throw
Well,
50 into the pot.
Cool.
50.
50.
Okay, I'm gonna throw 50 of my own into the pot. So
I'll
we need
sell
to
my-
cover.
Sebastian will
Armor
drop a
gleaming, so
copper
that's
piece
10.
on the table. If you're
So,
really
I might
lucky.
even do that, you know.
My armor is
Puff
an
up,
additional 10
Sebastian.
gold,
I'm a gleaming 10 gold.
so add 10 gold to the pot, and
One
maybe I
10.
can sell
Well,
2
say-
daggers.
We'll say the bracers will add. We'll take 20 off.
So you're 130, and you're looking for 2.
30
2 daggers. How much would I be able to sell them for?
250.
Yep.
So we need 120 still.
I feel like I'm at an auction.
Yeah, honestly, you could sell your entire inventory for about 30 gold. It's not worth it.
I am. I'm going to. We're at what? 120? You said we're up to?
You're at
Or
130.
130.
We're at 130, so we need 120.
Well, I will pull out 90 more. So we'd still be a bit short. 30 short. And I will attempt to convince them all that this is enough. We very much value your craftsmanship, and this is obviously a strange piece, and I'm sure we won't find much else, anyone who could handle it. We do look forward to using it as we head out to potentially try to take on some of the troubles that have been happening around this land and the rest of the world, land of Beldania here. And well, Alessio's proven pretty useful in battle, and we'd like to keep him alive, I suppose. But well, we expect to encounter many other things that might help us along the way, and we don't want to deplete our resources entirely. But for your fine craftsmanship, I think this ought to do.
Give me a persuasion check.
With my Salt of the Earth feature, because I have interacted with him and know his profession, I should get advantage.
And so you shall.
And I very rarely use it, but that's why I kind of
You
wanted
shall.
to try.
Yeah. Gonna be such a stupid number, isn't it?
Possibly. Depends if I roll like
46 or something ridiculous.
shit. No, 26.
26, yeah,
Good.
that'll do. He looks at you and 200.
Which is how much out of mine? It's fine.
80 out of yours instead of 90.
Cool. How'd it goes?
80, 50, 50 braces. Oh, sorry, 70, 50, 50 braces armor. Sorry, Henrik, only 70 out of yours.
Cool.
Have robbed me.
Well,
He
hopefully
sort of,
we'll give a little something back.
he sort of nods to you and this work must be uninterrupted. Must take place in the moonlight. Start now. And weirdly enough, the first thing he does is remove his cloak. Sort of stripping down to almost just his shorts.
Ooh.
And he sort of leans up towards the moonlight. He makes that same gesture. Indusan Fornax, you will guide my hands. Says in Leonin, so only Kiava got that. And he heads out the back to his forge. And he says, his wife turns to you and, where can we bring the armor when it's ready?
We have lodgings at the inn. The Setting Sun Inn.
Nope. The Setting Sun, if you remember, is on every single building. It's appropriate
Oh,
for
shit.
Outlanders. Name of your boat, perhaps?
Yes.
Ah, yes.
Does anyone know
Of
it?
The
The crew of the
Aurora
Aurora
Sunset.
Sunset.
Of course, there's a
Still
handout
something
with it.
involved.
Aurora
isn't there?
Sunset.
The Aurora Sunset.
Yeah.
Yes. Is in port.
it is.
You will do a woman a favor. When you return,
Yeah. Of course.
you will bring some of that tea Phoebe buys. She will know. Tell her it's for Barandas's wife. There's a
Would
good
you
boy.
be happy?
She pats
if I
you on
give
the
you
shoulder
this-
like you're a child.
Thank you, ma'am.
If you give me what?
Would you be okay if I give you this armor once you deliver that one? For the remaining 10 gold pieces of the sub.
But you are probably most handsome underneath, no?
Yes, I am incredibly ripped and jacked, and like I'll lift it a little bit and you can see his abs.
It's 12 pack.
Perhaps I should make you leave it and everything else you wear upon the table. You may wear it until you pick it up.
Oh! Little does she know, he likes a little bit of sausage.
Yeah, and she's very furry.
And I will pick Henrik up and say, thank you, my good man. You have made this possible. You're honest and strong as I knew, Henrik. Hurrah!
Let's just use it on the right endeavors, all right?
That's how tolerant
Indeed.
is that his character's been picked up twice in a day.
Oh no.
And obviously I'll thank
Nice
everybody
you up
else, but Henrik did do quite a lot to make it possible, so I'm very thankful.
Eric's tongue is worth 50 gold. Who knew? So, you guys head out. By the way, I do want to just point out there has been no warning or tell of how many nights it'll take.
Yeah, I figured
It'll be ready when it's ready.
Time.
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah, you're able to. Jesus Christ! Somebody's just turned the heating on. You're able to head down towards the docks, and you make your way past many different temples and squat buildings. Just to check, does Kiava worship any particular member of the constellation? It's probably Mensa, actually, isn't it? Who we've already dealt with. Magic Lord.
Yeah, that would be the closest one. It isn't worship as such. It's more so just respect. And
Yep.
at this point, it's more so Andromeda on the whole. And
Yep. Well, the Temple of Andromeda is the building that you will be unable to miss. If you remember from quite a distance, it was a large spire with a white dome. And indeed, the entire building is made of white marble. Stands quite beautifully above the edge, and the doors are gilt with gold. This is the only time at which you've seen Leonin on the street at this time. There are 2 Leonins standing outside in black robes. But these black robes have the Star of Andromeda right across the middle. And they wield unusual weapons, which will intrigue us. It's like a quarterstaff, but all the way down sort of one side of it is like this long, thin blade. It's like a cross between a scythe, an axe, and a stick.
You guys you catch a glimpse of Alessio standing next to one of these guards and just like grabbing their weapon and beginning to examine it.
The guard sort of looks to you and, "You fight, little one."
I'll stand up straight. I am not little, good sir, but yes, indeed I do.
He stands up straight.
I fight with my
Looks down at
honorable
you.
companions.
Well, you are interested. But the weapon is sacred to the Leonin people.
Oh, of
Perhaps
course.
when you are out the land, you might find one for sale in the docks.
Well,
You
I'm
didn't
much
hear it.
satisfied with my current.
You didn't hear it from
repertoire.
Bell. And he sort of taps it down on the ground. He does stand 9 foot, by the way, so you are little to him.
I'm gonna my tippy toes.
all of us are.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is tall, even for like, he's taller than Keanu. Like,
Oh, yeah.
a good 5 or 6 inches. Like, he's
At
big
least.
and he's bulk.
Tell me, good man. What sort of arts do the Leonian perform?
Of art? You mean?
You mean the martial
I'm lagging
kind,
a little
that's
bit, but I
it.
did get what he said. No! And I'll look over at Hennig. The performing arts, of course. Dancing, singing, body movement.
There are singing at the festivals of the old hymns.
What of poetry?
No.
Hennig, you're gonna get famous here. They don't do poetry.
Well, I suppose if they're not into it, they may not appreciate it either. You know, if they don't do it themselves, they may not know what they're looking for.
Oh, in this...
I think that's the death of Bruno.
Oh dear.
Oh, can you not hear me?
Oh, whoa,
Oh,
sort
welcome
of,
back.
yeah, maybe, kind of. You're doing some buzzing now. You too. Barry.
Hey?
Yep.
Hello.
I
Technical
basically
issues.
said, Good Hennig, I refuse to believe that not a soul in the realm would not appreciate your words.
Well, it takes some thought. Maybe an ode on your new armor, perhaps, if it strikes my fancy.
Oh, you flatter me, Hennig. Stop complimenting my weapons. You know that will get me going.
And with that, you guys can head on down towards the dock. Past the Temple of Andromeda. And the change between when you get to the end of Ulsmire and the beginning of the docks is so drastic, it's untrue. The first thing you'll notice is the buildings are made of wood and stone, not necessarily sandstone. The second thing is the colour is rife. There are roofs and canvas tops and stuff all full with colour. There are people bustling along the streets, and it's sort of like there's an unspoken line. It's just like the sandstone buildings stop, there's a little bit of a gap, and then there's like the back of some buildings which look to be like warehouses that don't have any people going, and then suddenly there's just people everywhere. There's a night market going on. There are hundreds of boats in the port. from massive tri-masting ships to tiny little fishing boats. And there are people of all walks of life. You will see halflings, dragonborn. You don't see any munchkins, but you do see Leonins down here. None of whom are wearing traditional tribal gear. Most of them look to be under 25, and Zana will greet you by name as she brings you through. You'll see humans, but you'll also see elves, genasi, and gnomes, and you even see a couple of kobolds walking freely, which is incredibly unheard of. You know that they get free and sometimes make their way to Beldania, but you don't see many of them. You see a Vidalcan, you see a huge Loxodon walking down carrying a little sombrero in its trunk. And there's just noise and bustle and so much going on down here as you sort of enter into this madness. What are we doing?
So much to see.
I'd like to go get a drink.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are chocha stands, but you're probably sick of chocha.
No, I mean something other.
Yeah. So you'll find a number of these sort of static. I'm gonna make a reference here, and I think only Rico's gonna understand what I mean. But they're basically like Greek tavernas. So they sort of. It's like a stool with a back bit with like some canvas dragged over the back so you can't see what's on behind. Yeah. And then there's
so,
like little
chairs.
Tables and like a couple of chairs just dotted around at the front. The people seem to like be walking along the side with their chairs and bringing them back, and there's all sorts of business going on there. The gentleman behind the counter, at first look you think he's human, but as you look a little closer, his eyes hold a sort of lustrous light.
So this Taverna area, is this sort of like a covered bit, or is this just like...
No, there is no covered bit in the whole of this area. And the whole of Ulsmire, really, apart from inside the house.
I was just wondering if it was covered in terms of like a sort of canopy type thing above, or if it was just totally open.
No, it's open to the stars. And you do see some people sat at various little sort of tables, smoking on these elaborate metal pipes. And nearby, a satyr sort of plays a little lyre, while another one plays a little pipe. And the bartender is with this sort of lustrous, bright light in his eyes. Looks over at you all and... Welcome home. How can I be of service?
What do you say, chaps? A bottle of wine?
One of the finest red.
Glasses.
I have wine from South Corman. It is beautiful, deep and lustrous. Like the lips of your finest lady. He smiles. Brings out this gorgeous sort of... it's like a glass bottle wrapped in wicker. It's sort of tied up with a little bit of rope. It's really traditional styling. And obviously they don't do glasses here, but they have these sort of wooden goblets that are shaped like the top of a wine glass. Almost thin enough to be fluted. They'll hand them over to you. Take a table. Come. It's 6 copper. No, rubbish. It's 6 shards. Sorry. So 1 copper piece, effectively.
I'll pay the price.
Oh. Well, unless he's starting to feel pretty bad, because he generally has had 0 gold for quite a long time.
He'll be fine.
Can I busk a little bit so I can pay for the party drinks?
You want to start performing?
Something very quick. I don't
yeah.
want to
So
as
you sort of look over to where these satyrs are playing, it's a little bit of a lively tune. But you know from your days of juggling and yore that you can sort of start up a bit of a crowd. Indeed, you do. As you're performing, go ahead, give me a performance check.
Can I do something different?
You can do what you like, but just give me 1 second. People will start to sort of gather round and give you effectively a circular stage in which to perform.
So I don't want to do a performance per se. I want to do a weightlifting performance and pick some people up, juggle them if I can,
Yeah.
Could I maybe roll athletics instead?
Nope. Give me a performance check. I want to see how well you are engaging the crowd. Right. It's the primary thing. So we'll see with that first. Great. Really. Yeah. So as you're sort of, the most important thing is how you gain people's attention, right? You don't need to make the check for the athletics. McPherson is more than capable of lifting people and such. But you do gain the attention of lots of various people. As things are going on, they sort of toss you the odd copper shard. You'll get to about 3 copper, which is quite generous, really, because, that'll pay for a full meal in a restaurant. But
yeah,
more
that's going
interestingly,
straight into
when you're done your performance as you return to your table,
sweating.
quite possibly, a young half-elf female looks over to you and you very strong. Yeah?
Yes.
You also, she gestures towards the weapons at your hip. You can fight?
Yes, the weapons actually do the fighting for me. I just hold them.
She reaches into her pouch and into her clothing, and she pulls out a very beautiful gold necklace with an emerald in this. Please, mister,
What is this for?
it's all I have, but I'll pay you if you will retrieve my father.
Your father's missing?
I know where he is. She
Tell me
gestures down to a boat in the port. He's been forcibly enrolled in a crew.
I'll grab
You
the
possibly
necklace.
what, sorry?
Forcibly enrolled into a crew.
I'll grab the necklace off of her and I'll put it back into her pouch. And then I'm going to give it back to her and say, I will retrieve your father, but I require no payment for this.
It's the Reaper, is the boat.
Very well. I shall communicate this to my fellow adventurers. What is your name, young lady?
Ulas?
Oh!
What?
Hold on a minute. Wait a minute.
Ah,
Are you the Ulas that got shunned? Because you were doing some...
So,
Oh.
one is Ula, and she's a Leonin
other's
that's being
Ulas.
sharp. And she's Ulies. And she's a halfling.
Very well. You may wait at our boat. I shall bring your father to you. It is the Aurora sunset.
The bartender who served you brings over another sort of... comes over to refill you all another glass. Leans down to you and... Press gangs are dangerous. Be careful.
My middle name is Danger. Well, actually, it's McPherson, but you know.
Very well.
Can I relay this to the party?
Yeah. The children's
Everyone!
name is Danger.
right?
I am not.
I
I
thought
am
it
not
was
indeed
fear.
a leader. I have many names. I have as many names as I have swords. But as it seems, I have enrolled us in a act of goodwill. We shall retrieve this young girl's father. He has been kidnapped and taken
Taken by whom?
by evildoers, of course.
So you wouldn't be able to relate that this is a press gang. So what press gangs do is basically they come in on a boat and then they press people into working for their own boat instead. Basically taking them out to sea, and it's like work or die.
This is a great connection to my backstory, so I shall pursue it.
Oh,
It's also, does this also happen to be a great connection to getting us killed?
Worry not, Kiavo. I will be your meat shield.
Well, that's comforting.
I hope so.
I
Well,
mean,
I don't mind. Sorry, Kiavo.
it's fine. I was just saying I am in then.
Well, I don't mind trying to help a person who's been rounded up against their will, but I don't know if it's normal enough around these parts that everyone, the entire area, would be against us.
That's not a problem, Hennig. I do not wish to stay here for much long.
Assuming that the girl hears this, she does speak common. She is half elf and she hasn't gone anywhere. This Reaper is one of 3 boats in town. A few other men have tried to go against them, but their prowess in battle is renowned. The town will be grateful. I promise. Say that just for my father.
Well, all right then.
Gratefulness.
Well, perhaps we should put that prowess to the test.
As you,
How would the town feel about a scuttled ship in the harbor?
That would take a lot of work and money to deal with. It blocks the harbor. But
All right, the men themselves then.
Fennec.
my father is on the boat. So that's her main
Well,
worry, right? She
get
doesn't
'em
actually
off,
care about it. But if you can get her father off, she doesn't really care if you scuttle the ship. But the town will. She's trying to be as
Just
honest as
trying to
possible.
get a read on whether we can think
Good
about attacking
comment.
the ship. Just to...
We could commandeer the ship after.
Yes, indeed. I'm glad we have the same thought process, Torin. I completely agree. Ah.
Okay. Yeah. Are you going to head down to the port to try and deal with that immediately?
I imagine it's pressing if they're about to take this guy out to sea.
Well, it's no. They're still gathering people, but as you arrive at the ship, you will see Reaper is a Kenku wielding what looks like the Grim Reaper's scythe, and that is the image on the sail of the boat. And as you look up to the boat, there are 2 very gruff-looking men, huge-shouldered. They might even have some orcish blood to them. And as you look at them and they look at you, there's this sort of unspoken agreement that they realize what they're in for. And a couple of the other ships sort of drift a little way away from this ship. As you all sort of, those of you who are crass enough to do so, roll muscles. And that's how we'll end. Start with a pitched battle.
Before we commit several war crimes.
No.
I think that's we'll end before that happens because once we get into battle, we'll be stuck in it, and then it'll be 6:30. And
Yeah.
Yep.
we'll be giving out no
Eating
lunch.
dinner.
So we will start where we ended, which I believe was Joe.
Okay.
Joe, your MVP. Did Rico?
It might have been me. I don't know.
Let's go with Rico then. Cool. You have something in mind?
So I think my MVP for this session was probably Alessio. Of note, there was a point where we had just gotten into Ulsmire and whoever was greeting us, and then Alessio was just like, "Ah, yes," nods of the head. That cracked me up, and then demanding a bigger cup for Sebastian was really cute.
Yeah, that was really sweet. I like that moment. Joe.
Yeah, I mean, lots of good. I can't remember. There was one I didn't manage to write down, and I don't remember. But it was another one of those dumb things of Alessio just saying something that was like narrating something that didn't make sense or whatever. But it was great, but I failed to write it down. Lots of that stuff. I like the crepuscular Leonin world, which is the active at dawn and dusk, right? So there's all these animals that we think of as nocturnal that really they're crepuscular, that they're mostly active at dawn and dusk, and cats are known to be one of them.
I didn't know that
And
one.
so the whole idea that, well, it's luck then, but a nice, fun-fitting detail for the town.
Oh. I mean, I knew of the state of
Yeah.
living. So this was inspired by it's a Riddick film. Before the Chronicles of Riddick. Which is like
Pitch Black.
Pitch Black, yeah. And the idea
Fucking
is on
love
that one of those worlds in that series, it's too hot in the daytime and too cold at the nighttime, so they get like an hour or two in which they can operate.
Right.
And I thought that was a really cool idea, so I sold it
Yeah.
to my game because that's what I do. I don't know.
I'm quite happy that that kind of stuff, like the encounters, is coming through where he narrates certain bits, and
You
that's
thought
good.
that there was a chance Alessio's stupidity wasn't coming through?
well, the main thing is if he doesn't understand something, he'll just narrate it to make sense for himself. So I'm glad that came through, but I quite enjoyed the conversation that Hennig had with him. It's nice to see a little bit more light and shade to Alessio and seeing that he might go through this dark path to recover the person he lost.
Interesting side fact. DM has read backstory both before and during this session. Still doesn't know who Alessio wants to resurrect.
So that was my second thing. When this encounter for this girl, it was literally out of my backstory. Young girl who lost her father. The father was forced to list in the army, and the guards have orcish blood. That is literally like 3 of Alessio's bonds.
No effort made whatsoever towards achieving that.
But I think I just really enjoyed the party this session. I think Alessio's finally coming out of his little, just a mercenary shell, and you guys really provided a lot of moments to have really easy conversation.
I agree. Josh?
So I was gonna say the conversation that Hennig and McPherson had as well, but I guess that's taken. So I will go with, I guess, just the deep, deep disappointment that is watching Torin fly all the way up to come back down still as Torin and not as a...
I totally forgot. There was a moment when I can't remember. I think it was the Forge priest was just like telling us that patience and like things take time. You're too hasty, and I want to like look down at Sebastian and be like, I guess Ascension will have to wait.
Yeah, I mean that was entirely not something that was being, indicated in that moment, but I think it's a great way of interpreting it. Jamal.
I've got a 2 for here. 2 of these. First one's gonna be what was it again? Haggling down in the armorer's place. And
the beat to lower it was fucking brilliant.
Thank you, Hennig.
Yeah, just all the effort that was taken in to lower the cost further and further, from people just throwing things in the pot and desperately trying to find more things to sell. It's like, there's the big deal. We're gonna dump everything for this. And then the other one that comes to mind is Alessio just coming out with basically just bluntly and out of it, I'm looking to resurrect someone, and just everyone's just like either horrified or just absolutely stumped and mystified as to how
confused
to
as hell.
answer.
Yeah, because Alessio was like, I've heard legends, and I was like, okay,
Probably in battle,
right,
if you think about it.
Well, no, I mean, I guess we don't have those legends in our real world, right? Because we think the resurrection's impossible.
Yes, we do.
I mean, like...
Legend of King Arthur, he went into the lake and then he came back. Jesus Christ, literally resurrected after 5
Well,
days.
yeah, but that guy's cheating.
Yeah, no. I don't expect Alessio to be able to
That's
resurrect
interference
someone
with
like
the
that.
gods. Yeah, but no, I mean, for me, it was
Power of God and anime.
very interesting thought, because obviously, in a way, we're in the D&D world, so resurrection will at some point be possible, right? If we stick to leveling normally. But at the same time, we talked a lot about the de-leveledness of the world, right? That you are approaching some of the most becoming some of the most powerful beings in the world of Beldania. Obviously, you've met a couple of people who've been capable of things that are really quite strong, like the head of the Mages Guild, for example, performed teleport a couple of times, which obviously is some strong magic. But in general, yeah, it's very few and far between that you would have seen much of strong magic.
I was actually going off a conversation that we had with the priest of, I think, Lathander back in the day, when Natasha passed, and they said that it was possible to bring her back if we wanted to.
Yeah, I think that was a shorter term thing. I think they were indicating, that maybe if the time was less. But yes, that would be the right alley to go down. It was very much a human thing, because they have short lives, right? As an elf, 2,000 years old, why on earth would you resurrect afterwards? That's quite not life.
Obviously, I think I love the twist you put into it, but it's very much like an end goal kind of thing, because it's a very powerful spell.
And that's fine. And obviously, what might be amazing is that it ends up being you guys who need to cast it, right? Yeah, which is kind of cool. But yeah, no, there were a few moments I really enjoyed. But did anybody else feel like this session felt a lot longer than it was?
I felt like it flew by.
When you mentioned Drac and Corin and being at the
Actually,
yeah, that was shit. That felt like weeks ago. It was only 3 hours ago. Yeah,
I mean, it was 5 days. 5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when we had like the time at the monument, and then the journey on the boat, then arriving at the town, and then making our way through the town, and then getting down to the docks, it was like a lot happened, right? A lot of time passed, and it felt very long. And yet there were so many lovely little tiny moments within. So I loved the interaction with Sebastian's cup size. I thought that was really sweet with Lazio.
Couldn't have done it earlier.
Yeah.
You only believe people's word through battle.
Well, no, but it was still a very interesting moment to see. It was very interesting to see the discussion on the boat with Chef. That to me was
Goran.
I that's one of the most touching things I've seen a group do for an NPC.
Nice.
So it felt, I got a little emotional playing it through.
I was given a job, you know.
Yeah, but it was really touching for me. I genuinely did feel emotional with
great.
that. And the same, my favorite MVP overall, though, goes also to you, Joe, for the conversation with Nassan. It wasn't even like the ship's carpenter. It wasn't even the conversation itself. It's the fact of sort of getting him to come and work on the cart. That was such a beautiful touch of like putting him in a safe space, in a space where he feels like, you know, where conversation feels more natural than just sort of accosting him and going like, what's wrong? So yeah, it was so beautifully done. So I really
Well, it was a good little conversation and everything too. Like even though it was like kind of almost frustrating because you're like, I don't know how to solve this guy's problems. Part of this is actually trying to teach me a lesson, but it doesn't necessarily have to go anywhere to still be the right kind of interaction to sort of, you know, smooth things up with the crew. So
yeah, no, definitely. However, there are a couple of very minor gifts to give out. And mostly it's Alessio gaining a point of intelligence as he learns about resurrection and the impossibility, and sort of learning a little bit about the ways of the world and how to not be quite as...
Sweet +1.
No way! I thought you had like 4. Okay.
No, I had an 11. It's 12 now.
Yeah, okay, that's... you... Yeah. You don't come across that way, son. Sebastian Belmont, a point in strength today, as you have been depicted so many times as a mighty warrior. Perhaps
Nice.
you're starting to believe it ever so slightly.
Hey, I have 9 now.
Nice.
That's what we like to
Fantastic.
hear.
and you lifted that cup without even making a roll. I mean, it was.
I think that should be a point in Dex. That way it'll get me to 18.
I think
Nice
I'll stick
try.
with strength. Chiavo, a point in Arcana.
Hey.
Just as you're beginning to see the way that magic and religion blend in this beautiful world. I will not give Henrik a point in persuasion. It's entirely
No.
because, but
Please don't.
I did really like that moment. But actually, I think what I'd like to give you, Henrik, is a point in religion. Just as, you know, you're all starting to get a little more, and I think I'd give the same to Torin, actually, to be honest. As the two of you who are much less schooled in the ways of the world than, you know, Alessio is quite wealthy as a being, and Chiavo's very learned, but you two, I think, really had some eye-openings here with religion, so coming over. And with those lovely gifts, that is where we'll end. So if you guys would like to say goodbye,
Goodbye.
Bye.
Wow.
we shall see you soon.